Welcome to the arena, lights are blazing white. Jake and Spaz are here to take you on this wild ride. NXT action gonna blow your mind. Opinions flying high, let's get intertwined. Wrestlers in the ring giving all their might, breaking down each move, every thrilling fight. Jake and Spaz dissect every high and low. With passion and flair, they run this show. Wrestlers in the ring giving all their might, breaking down each move, every thrilling fight. Jake and Spaz dissect every high and low. With passion and flair, they run this show. So somewhere we're diving in to suplexes and drama, let's begin. With commentary sharp, we're on the grind. In this wrestling world, treasures we find. From the opening bell to the final dance, we analyze every win and lost chance. Fan theories unravel in a lively chat. Jake and Spaz bring you where the action's at. From the opening bell to the final dance, we analyze every win and lost chance. Fan theories unravel in a lively chat. Jake and Spaz bring you where the action's at. Face-offs to remember, rivalries galore. Discussing every twist, we crave even more. Our review show is your backstage pass. Stay tuned and cheers as the moments flash. Intro somewhere we're diving in to suplexes and drama, let's begin. With commentary sharp, we're on the grind. In this wrestling world, treasures we find. From the opening bell to the final dance, we analyze every win and lost chance. Fan theories unravel in a lively chat. Jake and Spaz bring you where the action's at. Bring you where the action's at.
Wow, look at that. We got the brand new intro. That's right, everybody. Welcome to the debut episode of Into Somewhere. That's right. Wrestling news coming back at you on Wednesday nights. I'm here with the one, the only, the crazy, my good man, Spaz Phoenix. What's going on, bud? How you doing tonight?
I don't know what's going on. I don't hear anything.
Can you hear me now? How you doing tonight?
Hey,
Good, bud?
there we go. I was going to say you got started there and I couldn't hear anything, so I figured my face was going to be up there, and we were just going to go
get
from
in
there.
there somewhere. Yeah, exactly. You know, but I made it work. A little bit of a stream snafu, but we're getting better at it. So what's going on? What a night we had here. NXT 2300, huge. It looks like AEW had some pretty crazy matches. Will Hobbs came back, which is odd, but hey, why not bring in more people that you're doing nothing with? That's how we do it. Hopefully everybody's good in the chat. What's going on, guys? Shout out to everyone hanging out in there. Thank you for coming and joining us on our off night, Wednesday night. Usually we try to aim to go live after NXT on Tuesdays, but due to Trump winning the election and becoming our next president of the United States, again, this is Trump 2 Part 2, and not the Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, baby.
Red yesterday, silver tonight.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Unfortunately, Dynamite wasn't really grabbing my attention much, but all in
I
all... I
didn't watch a lick of it.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
I mean, I've got a few little thoughts here and there, but there's not much, and they're building to Full Gear, and it just... I don't know, they had a big match announcement tonight. They've got Bobby Lashley being challenged by Swerve Strickland. Swerve just comes out and yells, "Bobby Lashley, full gear," and that's their big challenge. So that's about as much from Dynamite as we got out of that. But NXT tonight, huge night, ton of fun. I really enjoyed myself. I know you've got a lot to say about the night. And, I mean, this whole week has just been chaotic between the election and a pre-recorded Raw, so I needed this tonight, you know? I needed that chance
Raw wasn't doing much.
No, especially being taped, it had that feel to it. It didn't have that exact live gravitas. When you know it's a tape show, it just doesn't feel the same.
The only thing I will say Raw had going for it, and it's not much, is it was in the same, I believe it was in the same place as Crown Jewel the day before, because it was taped on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it had that extra, what do you call it when they're typically in Saudi, where they have the canopy thing over the ring area, so you've got the pillars with the extra lighting and the extra display. And it's not to say that it's bad or good, but anytime you've got a little bit of something different to look at, it's something.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're doing stuff like it's cut and paste these days, but like the bloodline is good. Tell a friend.
I did, just a little cheap plug here, I did just tonight finally get my Twitter back. I had to fork over $8 to do so, but hey, it's worth it, because you actually get customer service when you sign up for their little fun things. And when you go for premium,
did you have to get the premium?
Yeah, I'm only going to do it for a month, but it got my account back, so I'm not going to complain. And I had a actual through Microsoft Rewards a while ago, I had like a $10 prepaid card, so it essentially was free, so it works out. So thank you to Microsoft and Elon.
Digital money you had lying around.
Yeah, and Elon, now I can't have a war with him over this. I'll have to find something else to be mad about.
I was going to say the battle between you and Elon ends in a draw.
Yes. Well, he didn't get $10 from me, but he got it from somebody. But I'm back on Twitter at Countdown Ended. You can go ahead and tweet me there. I've got quite a few people that I want to reach out to that I have not spoken to in a long time that I really didn't know who the hell or how the hell to get a hold of some of these people. They were only on Twitter. So it's going to be nice to talk to people. Excuse me again. And yeah.
Well, if I can divert a little bit, and
please do, sir.
I'm obviously there's obviously going to be sarcasm, and I touch on things here and there. I'm going to try not to like double down on all the
sarcasm from you, never.
No, but I'm trying not to double down on the events of yesterday too much, but just on the whole thing with you and Elon and whatever you talk about, like getting back in touch with people. The day he took over Twitter, turned it into X, I had people in my inbox, like 5, 6, 7 people. Oh man, where you been? We haven't seen you in years. I'm like, literally, I post every day. This is bullshit.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy,
And it's like, if they've been waiting to talk to me that long, it's like OG watchers of my channel. Like, not that the numbers necessarily bear it out, but I've been doing this for over 10 years.
What was the name of the guy that you used to chat with all the time? It was Tweet with Spaz when you got your account banned, and then they got you back. But you used to comment on their channel every now and again, and I forget it, but I don't
remember. They sort of co-opted the tweet along with Spaz hashtag and sent me some delightful stuff. So when I'm the adult in the room, there's a problem.
Absolutely, you
I'm also
shouldn't be responsible,
tired.
But
I'm also very. You and I have talked about this today already. I stayed up to watch your country's little hoofera last night until about 3 in the morning, and then got up for work at 6, and I haven't slept yet. So
I've been going
this
since
can only
5.
go well.
I'm right there with you. That's why I got the energy drinks to try and liven myself up. The bags underneath my eyes. I've got the broken foot and the walking boot. That's
there
fun.
You go.
Yeah, boot shot. And my side's still purple, but we're getting there.
I was gonna say the bags under your eyes have now turned into suitcases.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, still got that nice purple side bruise. Woo, baby, it's healing, but not exactly fun. So, Sir Spaz, tonight, a lot of thoughts, but what's your immediate reaction to the 2300 we got tonight?
My immediate thought was like, it didn't blow me away, and that's okay.
Yes. I was not disappointed.
There was a lot of stuff that was put in there just for fun. I'm going to get into this literally when we talk about the first match, but a lot of stuff was there for fun. It was to pay credence to where they were. It was to pay credence to the specific type of fan that was going to be there that night. I don't know. I said this to you before we sort of midway through watching the show. It feels claustrophobic in a good way.
Yes.
Like it's got the intimate feel to it without feeling as small as the PC does. Like
Yeah, because you
it felt
notice they were
huge.
not in their own element. Because the 2300 building is small, but
Yeah, it felt huge and tight at the same time. Pause.
don't you be talking about my wife.
Oh dear.
Oh,
You
God.
guys haven't even visited Canada yet.
That you know of. So
I walk into America, part of me's already been there 10 minutes.
I told you jumped the border, you voted, and then you just left. You came here just to vote, you crazy
It's going to
bastard.
be the best border.
Glorious. Well,
It's going to be fantastic. That's what they tell me.
Sadly, folks, Spaz and I were very heartbroken over the weekend.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely destroyed. We heard about Peanut, the squirrel, and this poor little guy was entertaining millions on TikTok, had over 1 million followers there, had like 800,000 followers on Instagram, and the owner of this pet of Peanut owns an animal rescue sanctuary, so they were saving upwards of like 300 animals on this land that they purchased, and they do all this nonprofit work and raise several $1 million with Peanut. Well, someone got upset that these two have an OnlyFans and they make content for. So people went and attacked them by sending reports to the local Department of Environmental Conservation, so their wildlife police. And they raided their house, and they went ahead and they took the squirrel and euthanized him along with Fred, the 6-month-old baby raccoon.
Because there's no other threats out there in the universe right now. We really are in pretty much a perfect world, and yes, we can spend time euthanizing animals. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't break from wrestling much here, but with the election, it's impossible not to. And
Yeah.
Peanuts, that'd be the same thing if they came in and stole Milo. I mean, he's a family member at that point. He was with them for almost 8 years, fully trained, ate waffles, and wore little hats. How could you want to hurt this thing? Now, the justification was, well, Fred and Peanut attacked the police officers that were there. They scratched them, so they had to kill them to test them for rabies, because that's the only way to test is with brain matter.
Oh, so it was self-defense.
Yes, that was their argument. But as you know,
And see, here's the thing.
that squirrel was going right for him, right by the jugular.
You and I talked about this privately because it became a meme pretty quickly. It became like, okay, here's Peanut and Harambe like chilling, having a David and Goliath match up there behind the pearly gates, right? And your immediate thing was, it would be like somebody coming for Milo. But I'm going to divert from that slightly, only to the idea that an animal doesn't have to belong to somebody to say don't fuck with animals.
Yeah, to not
like I know
kill
where
it.
I know it's not to negate your point, obviously.
No,
but
certainly
it's one of those like in their own volition. But yeah, but like
it just blows my mind. It wasn't a Bengal tiger. It wasn't a pool full of dolphins. It was a squirrel. I mean, people hit them.
And I'm
100
sorry,
times
there's
a day with their
25,000.
cars.
There's 25,000 other things to worry about.
There's 25,000 squirrels probably in that city. You know what I mean? Like who in that area? Never mind. Who gives it? It's a simple squirrel. I can see if the guy had, like I said, some people get gigantic tigers or mountain lions. One guy had a bobcat. It got loose and killed all of the neighborhood dogs. I mean, that's stuff you need to take care of. A squirrel, a raccoon, because they had an OnlyFans. Absolutely insane. Luke Rojas, I loved your conversation on the belt. That was a great upload, bud. It's sad to see
Luke.
that it's gone.
Hello to people in the
so
chat.
Shit. Yes, shout out to everybody in there. Thank you for hanging out.
I'm still not used to live streaming, so I have to remember to say hi to other people that are with us.
I know
we're not just doing a podcast.
It gets you a little bit, but that's all right. We're getting back into the flow of things. And
I come over to Jake's channel because Jake will do all the work.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, baby. I'm used to it.
Cheap plug. I'm going to get this out of the way right off the bat. We will be getting together sometime tomorrow night, probably the typical time to drop on Friday. We got a lot to cover on State of Wrestling that we're not going to cover tonight. We're going to cover the Chris Bay injury, the Rhea Ripley injury, the WWE releases, even though that's kind of passed already, some of the conversation around the WWE ID program, Goldberg announcing his retirement, Cody promoting body shaming, LOL, I'm kidding, obviously. The UK tour heading into Mania, the fake Tokyo Dome rumor that went around and where I think they could actually do something really funny, and the New Day celebration that's coming up either next week or the week after. So we've got a loaded show for you guys. For you, those of you guys watching here on Jake's channel, hop on over to mine. It's Spaz Phoenix Podcast everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, Spotify.
Down below in the
iTunes.
description box, you go right there to his channel.
Absolutely.
And it'll show you all your links.
I always forget to mention that I'm also on Amazon, but nobody seems to give a shit about Amazon. So
I didn't even know you could upload to Amazon, but that's cool. Well, before we get too far away,
it's one of the things I got to through Anchor, where I go to Anchor and Anchor puts it out to
throws
iTunes,
it everywhere.
Spotify.
That's sweet.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of other places, like a bunch of more minor platforms too. But
yeah, hey, it works.
Hey, Luke, don't be putting yourself down just to put me up. That's not what we're going for. Hey, Trek, see you.
What's
in the
going
chat
on, Trekopedia? It was glad to see you here as well. We got some OGs here, but before we get too far away, I want to go ahead and just give one little more thought out there. We're going to give a shout out to Peanut, and this is for you, friend, hanging out with Harambe. Up to God. So heartbreaking, absolutely so heartbreaking. And shout out to Peanut. You were gone, but not forgotten, just like 9/11. Talking about everything else going down.
I would have taken my hat off, but I'm still actually breaking in this hat.
Hey, there you go.
I don't know if it shows clearly. This is Destiny Haywire.
Well, I kind of wanted you to give your elevator pitch of this weekend. You know, you got to see a pretty great Destiny show, so I kind of wanted you to recap that with the audience. But
okay, Cole's notes, you guys will be able to see these over the next couple of weeks. Anybody that has I don't work for Destiny. I just think they're a really good fed. They're the only fed I pay attention to, other than, NXT, WWE, some AEW.
If I had access to something like that locally here, I would, even if it was like an hour drive, I would do that. Northeast Wrestling does some stuff, but never to the caliber that Destiny does. I mean, and it's different.
I'm not gonna lie
stuff
to you,
for
man.
different folks,
It's like 20 minutes away by cab.
Yeah,
and
see.
I only discovered it. Well, I guess this isn't me being repetitive, because
no, that's like 40 minutes away by Immigrant too. So I mean,
oh my goodness, yeah, but then they're gonna they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. They don't want to talk about it, but that's what they tell me.
We already talked about the squirrel. Oh God, you're gonna make me cry again. So
that's the appetizer. Anyway, but no, for those of you that have been following my channel, you guys have heard me talk about Destiny ad nauseum. That's why Jake and I have the Check It Off Your Fast Phoenix bucket list running gag over on my show. But it runs out of Mississauga. It runs out of Battle Arts Academy, which used to be owned by Santino Marella. I don't know if it still is, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But it just got taken over by new management. The owner of Destiny used to be George Iceman Menendez. I still don't know how to spell his or how to pronounce his last name. But if you're watching TNA, he's the one playing the personal concierge to Dana Brooke, now Ash by Elegance, and it's now owned by a guy named Emilio Albi, who's just taking it up a notch, because of where they are and the Canadian tie-ins, and obviously Santino being involved as well. The big draw for me initially, because I was one of those guys, ignorant guys that said, indie stuff, whatever. If they make it big, they'll make it to WWE.
Yeah.
I went to a WWE house show like 10 years ago, and they were handing out flyers for Destiny, and it was in my neck of the woods. And the main event for their title was John Morrison versus Pete Dunne, who was their champion at the time. But they had people. Oh, what do you got there? You got some Destiny shit. Hey, Alexia
That's
Nicole,
right.
and there you go. Sorry, I'm trying to watch what you're putting up and form my sentences at the same time, and I'm tired.
Hey, it works, but you got a lot of great people out there. And
we got a lot of
Is that how you say her name? Aaliyah's name?
Noom Falaribi, formerly known as Aaliyah in WWE, just became their new women's champion. Where was I going with that? Somebody. Oh, Casey Navarro, for the TNA fans out there, just became their Destiny New Era champion, which is basically like their mid-card, their Intercontinental title. JBL was there doing a meet and greet, and he did a run-in on one of the matches. Currently, for about a month now, Hammerstone from TNA, the large tie-in is with TNA. Really. Hammerstone is their world champion right now. He kicked the head off of Trent Seven about a month ago for that title, and now
bashed his head in.
Now he's carrying around a poster of him standing over Trent Seven with the belt. And I think they modified the belt a little bit, but I was standing behind, so I can't guarantee that for sure. He came in to the taping that I was at this past weekend, and it was like, oh, it's going to be an open challenge versus a former Destiny champion. And if you go on Turnbuckle Topics or anything like that and look up Destiny, there's only been 10, and Rey Mysterio is in that mix along with PJ Black and Josh Alexander and like I say, Pete Dunne, a couple of other people. But his open challenge was answered by what the hell is his name, Marty Scurll, which is a mixed reaction type return. Obviously, as soon as I put those pictures up on Twitter, people are, oh, you support this and that. I'm like, no, I enjoyed a match, fuck off. But truly, like, as much as I like Destiny, I like some of the people. If anybody out there is familiar with people like Alexia Nicole, Von Vertigo,
just a lot of great indie talent, and JBL, who was what did you say, $60 to see if you wanted to take a picture with him.
$80 for a picture with JBL.
Oh,
I didn't spend the money on that. I got a picture with Aaliyah. I got a picture with KC, and big like bucket list shit stuff for me. We finally, from across the pond, got What Culture Wrestling's Simon Miller over for an exhibition match, and
why?
I got exactly why. Here's why. I've been watching, like, as a guy who's never really seen a lot of Simon Miller's wrestling, but enjoyed his content both individually and with What Culture there. I've been a fan of his content for like 10 years. Yeah. I've interacted with him in like the furthest like pulled away sense,
which is crazy, but
he's plugged my channel a couple of times, like back in the day. Like, I'd get on there, toss a super chat, and hey, go check out Spaz, he's doing some stuff and whatever. And when I met him after the show, like, anybody who's familiar with Simon Miller's content, what you see on his videos, on his What Culture videos, is exactly the same as when you meet the guy. And because I'd been tagging Destiny for a while, like, you got to get Simon Miller.
He seems so genuine and so.
He is. He's a really good dude. Like, as soon as he realized who I was, and he realized that he'd like talked to me on like X once or twice, or on a comment section here and there, and whatnot. As soon as he realized who I was, and he obviously didn't say, if you've ever seen me interacting with What Culture, they don't use the first part of my screen name because it's offensive to some people, blah, 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 blah. They call me Mr. Phoenix or just Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
So he looked at me, he's like, is it Phoenix? I said, yeah, it's Phoenix. And like the dude gave me a big hug, and the dude's like head and shoulders taller than me.
That's awesome. See, that he genuinely remembers you, and he's so. Like, when we met the Hardys, they were like that. Like, they called out some people for the art. Yeah. And Jeff Hardy especially, he was like, oh, I remember this guy. He drew this and this for me. And you think about how many, like, fan submissions that guy must get a day. So to remember art specifically, like, that blew me away. Of course, that is something he enjoys. Speaking of YouTubers and whatnot, I'm actually gonna pull a you. And I was thinking of Smarkbusters before, by the way. Smarkbusters was the answer. Shout out to the one and only Solomonster for 17 freaking years on YouTube. Absolutely insane for him to still have just such a great following after all this time. Now, I mean, 17 years of Solomonster sounds off. He hasn't been on YouTube the entire time, but he's been doing podcasting for 17 years. But having him go ahead and do that, just wanted to say a huge congratulations to him. He's always been so just like genuine and kind, and reached out to me quite a bit at different times without even talking to me or meeting me, and just being like, hey, by the way, I hope you're feeling better, kind of things. And look, Spaz, nice. I even went ahead, you'll see in a second, I made some crazy transitions, but I'm afraid it's going to fuck the computer. But, you know, if I go ahead and switch to the other camera...
You don't want me to turn that into a joke, do you?
You could, but no. I go ahead and I hit this button, and look, a little NXT thing pops up, and it switches, and it's, hey! And then I got the Banana Army one. I mean, we're getting somewhere. Banana Club! That's right. So we've got some cool stuff going on here. No one else on YouTube. This is why we go to
Jake for the live stuff.
Right? No one else on YouTube's doing it like
this. How to do this shit.
Yeah, I'm only that little, spastic myself.
Spaz barely taught himself how to do PNG shit like this year. That's how far behind I am. That's why it's mostly a podcast.
I am not far behind. Just trying to update things. See, the issue I have right now is just a matter of not so much space, but organization and room because of how things are, I'm in the living room and how things are shaped off to be. So I need to be hardwired for the computer, and unfortunately, Wi-Fi always sucks, no matter the router. And you want this plugged in. So unfortunately, I'm kind of tethered to the wall right there, tethered in. But that's all right. We make it work. So trying to upgrade the area.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're making it work. NXT tonight. Quick overthought. I'm not a Mike Sempervive fan. I've always said that. I don't like his views, his takes. You know, he was one of the ones that, like, I'm not going to watch Crown Jewel. And it's like, if you want to take a stance, fine. But you can't watch Raw and then say that's fine because, oh, it's Raw. But you're not going to watch Crown Jewel. They were both in Saudi, so you can't. Any event. Stupid opinion.
Who did you say that was?
Mike Sempervive from Brian Alvarez's co-host on Wrestling Observer. So with the clip I had sent you the other day, they were both kind of going off and saying how I don't think Paul Heyman will show up there, but he was making the comparison of why would you have Paul Heyman come out tonight, which they could have made it work still, and I wouldn't have hated it, but they're not. Alvarez isn't wrong in his saying, because he's like, you would save Heyman coming back for a big moment for the Bloodline, the originals, you know, for Roman and everybody to kind of need that glue to take on the new Bloodline and be a cohesive unit. We saw them not working together this past week, and what happened? Jay got his neck almost Pillmanized in the chair till Sammy came out, and then Sammy boots Roman in the face with a little miscue. So not great for the OG Bloodline, but Heyman not showing up tonight in the ECW arena. I really didn't think he would. I wasn't going to put money on it, but I would have been happy if he did. But Sempervive was going against all this, and I'm like, because the initial point was Kenny Omega returned the other day. Mm-hmm. Huge return, but it was for New Japan. And it's like, why would you take one of your top AEW stars and have them return elsewhere, not in your promotion? That would be a la a Paul Heyman or a Roman Reigns coming. Would you have Roman Reigns show up on WWE Speed? I mean, it would be
hilarious.
It would be, right? Or, you know, some other big comeback. You know, Seth Rollins comes back from injury, but he's going to be on Impact. No, I mean, like, I get it. It's not, but it's just not. You want them on your brand.
The Impact thing would be different only in the sense of people. I mean, bad faith people, but people nonetheless are making that argument that, oh, they're not sending anybody big over to help TNA. If they sent Seth Rollins over there for a night to shut people up, I would actually kind of love that.
Oh, I would love to see bigger names go. You know who I would personally love to see over there again? Drew. Bring back Galloway. He's got history there, and they can tell a story of how TNA.
See, but I don't want them to have. For the case that I'm trying to make, I wouldn't want them to have that. It's like, oh,
you're just looking for an injection of star power, then, right? You're saying.
Well, no, I want somebody like intentionally removed from it. Like when the first time they let Mickie James come back in for the Royal Rumble, it's like, oh, they have somebody from Impact. Well, no, she's just a WWE legend, and then they shut them up by saying, okay, we'll have Jordynne Grace.
Yeah, so you want somebody that's a lifer for WWE to go over to show it. That makes not
necessarily a lifer. I just
not
want
being literal. You
get
my point.
Yeah, just somebody where they can't say, oh, it's just somebody going back to TNA for it. I would love, because, you know, I want this guy to do a lot more stuff once he drops his tag belt. I would love Finn Balor to show up in TNA for a night.
See, now that's a really interesting choice. And after Judgment Day, it's like, what do you do with him? That's a refresh. That's a huge name to go over that way, and I think that would benefit
here's
them
a weird
both.
combination, because I was about to say, my default answer is X person versus Josh Alexander, because Josh Alexander is one of my favorite people in TNA. First saw him at Destiny. Yes, check it off your Past Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. But now that I think about it a little bit more, if we're going to have a one-on-one match, and you could expand this out into a tag team match later on as well, Finn Balor versus Trey Miguel.
That's got money.
Or do you bring the Rascals over as a pair to Raw for a night to face Finn and JD for the tag titles?
That's a great idea, too. I would go with the tag titles. And shout out to Gorilla Strong. I mean, what OGs in the chat. Loving to see it. You guys are making my night. Like I said, non-live Raw, no NXT on Tuesday. This has been a drag, tough week. I needed this tonight. I was very entertained with NXT.
I will say, Raw was an okay show. Still getting used to the 2-hour thing. I think I'm leaning towards liking it. The pre-tape that bothered me more was what they spoiled on the pre-tape SmackDown.
Yeah, with the
Usos and Roman coming together and the yeet and all that kind of thing.
Allergies.
I mean, they had to, but no, Raw is just I don't know. Like there's stuff happening, and that's the thing with that's the safeguard that WWE has right now. You can never say that stuff's not happening.
No, certainly
but
not.
sometimes it's just stuff happening.
Exactly, and that's kind of been the thing.
I want to get those belts onto the War Raiders now that they're the War Raiders again, but that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. The War Raiders, we'll see what happens going forward. It was cool, on a tape show or not, to see them kind of have their moment in the sun, getting their old names back. Yeah, you watch our reviews and said NXT strong. What's going on, Triple M? Oh, we got so many badasses in the chat. But yeah, Liz, we're going to see Judgment Day eventually lose those belts. And they've been refocusing on the tag division. You hear Netflix saying that they want big stars. They want Cody. They want
Cody, Roman, and Punk on one show.
Yeah. And here's the
Which
thing.
again, and I'm going to harp on this until we get to January. It's insane to me that because... Sorry, guys. Anybody listening right now, I'm really tired, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Monday Night Raw going to Netflix. So they want all the guys on Monday Night Raw because that's the show that Netflix is getting. In the States, everywhere else, they have all three shows. So I get that everything's different in America, especially this week.
Yeah.
But
Yeet.
It's not like they don't and it's not like people in the States can't use a VPN and watch Canadian Netflix.
Yeah, certainly. But that's kind of the thing. I wish it was all available together, but they're not going to have as many restrictions. No, they're not going to TV-14, but they don't have to censor holy shit. They don't have to censor themselves. I think that's one of my biggest gripes about YouTube and pretty much YouTube in general. It's not so much podcasting because you can get away with more in podcasts, but you're on YouTube and people have to self-censor themselves. You can't say, certain murder, gun, rape, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, we're going to get demonetized. I'm not monetized. Point being, it still hurts the search algorithm.
The faster more people moderate over to Rumble from YouTube, we can curtail some of this.
I know. I wish there were more options because YouTube does have the monopoly over it, and obviously we could talk forever about it, but long and short of it, I feel like it's so silly to be like, oh, this man's arrested because he graped her. What's being said, you just sound like a moron in the process, so I don't know.
It's okay. We could have a big conversation.
Bad. Continue.
We could have a big conversation about this. Do you want to talk about how bad the word is, or do you want to talk about how bad it is that we have to use the word at all because it happened?
Exactly.
Same thing with unalive.
Yes, unalive. All those, the gamer words and.
Sorry, I watch a lot of Roma Army. For anybody out there that doesn't know who Roma Army is, she's a short form content creator. She does a lot of men's rights advocacy, which is really, really cool because it puts a big target on her back. But all the words that she has to use to get around the fact that hey, guys have higher incidences of
suicide,
being abused and suicide.
Yeah, and she has to be self-deletion. It's like
she has, these people are control-alt-deleting themselves, which takes away the gravitas of the actual topic at hand.
Jason did not self-delete. I mean, if you really want to get technical, maybe, because he removed his own save file. But my cousin hung himself on Christmas. He committed suicide. It's suicide. It's not, self-deletion. It's not unaliving. I mean, it drives me nuts that you have to go ahead and censor in such a way that you're still iterating your point. So I can understand censoring certain swear words.
Well, and the sad thing is it's not that far off of the criticism people used to have of Vince in WWE. Oh, you can't say hospital; it's local medical facility, and.
I guess more of my problem is too. A lot of times, it's not an entertainment value in the sense of it's news or they're reporting facts. Like Philip DeFranco, and he's going through and he's like, oh, this woman was raped today, and now you got to say graped or unalive. Like we said, terrible examples, but you get the point. And it's it's mind breaking. It takes you out of it. And thankfully, we didn't get anything that took us out of the night tonight. I always laugh. I had Danny rolling on the floor with Booker T, just always between tricks, entrance. He never shuts up. Yeah. I love it. That was me on other former shows when I go ahead and cut everybody off. But we had a really cool intro. We played it before. New intro for the Into Somewhere show. That's right. We popped that out. But they had the ECW intro tonight, which I really loved. We'll play a bit of that for a second again. Look at that. ECW goodness all over NXT. Yummy. So like I said, we had the new intro there, and then we got into it.
I'm going to nitpick.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Go right ahead.
Because I love the entrance that they put together. But just because of how much it's associated with Paul Heyman and ECW specifically, while they were part of WWE and some of the pay-per-views that they did under the WWE CW banner,
Yeah.
I would have loved if somebody had taken a minute to see if they could get the rights to bodies by
Would have
Drowning
been
Pool.
cool. And it's funny too because WWE does not really, they don't often put the money out for these type of things
No.
when they have it. I know Tony has the money, but AEW doesn't seem like they do. Like Tony's paying out of pocket $500,000 a show to play the final countdown. And Gorilla Strong, I am so sorry to hear that, buddy. I've actually talked to a friend of mine, and one of his best friends just tried to go out by suicide by cop. So he went ahead and called 911, and I guess in a PTSD like rampage moment, he was freaking out. He took his rifle and hid in his bedroom closet and called 911 saying that he needed help in like some lucid moment, like he knew something wasn't right. But then he went back into like this trance, and the only reason the officers didn't become ambushed is because his gun jammed. And they were able to take him down without incident. They tased him. They got him the help he needs. He's in the hospital, and he's okay. And, like, the cops aren't mad. They were scared, but they're like, this is why this needs to be treated and cared for. PTSD is a legit issue. I mean, they don't talk about the fact of, like, the sexual dysfunction it causes. Think about how that plays on a man's psyche when you can't be a man. I mean, there's so many angles and aspects to it, but...
And the thing about it is too, and like we're off on a point, but it's an important point, so I'll run with it for a second. Is you and I or anybody else isn't saying like it's only guys. We're just tired of it
absolutely
being
not, yeah.
not addressed. Like the problem.
Great point,
like,
by the way.
Oh, I shouldn't be having this conversation when I'm tired. The problem is not, hey, as soon as we get rid of this problem, it's fine. As soon as we get rid of that problem, it'll be fine, because problems will always come up. The biggest problem is on any particular point you want to go on the identity politics wheel, as soon as you've got one group saying this only happens to us.
Yeah.
You couldn't possibly know. Nobody could possibly know because this only happens to us.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I know we're joking around, we're having some fun and whatnot. I'm speaking up here from Canada. I'm not even in the thick of it with you guys. On a genuine note, for anybody in the States, no matter which way you voted, I don't care. I'm not going to ask you whether it went your way, whether it didn't go your way. I hope everybody's good. I don't want anybody in any genuine stress. I fuck about with things. This is how I deal with things. And I think, Jake, you're in a similar boat to me on that.
Absolutely. It sounds corny in a way, but I just want people to be okay, because everyone's dealing with so much lately. It's been an overload, and everybody's stressed, everybody's broke, everybody's miserable, everybody feels like they're just scraping by, and it really feels like everybody at this point.
The broke thing is a perfect example of it, because I think most people that have heard my content before know one of the things about me is I don't drive.
Yeah.
Like I take transit, I take cab, I drive a forklift at work. That's
Travel
the only
by
thing.
Immigrant. We went over this,
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I'll hear something, and then one of my friends that drives will be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe the price of gas. Can you believe the price of gas?" It's like, well, we can't believe the price of anything. Well, let's broaden the scope a little bit.
Forget your bag milk. I just went to pick up coffee creamer this morning, and Great Value Walmart brand half and half creamer was $5.98, $6 for this small thing of half and half creamer, and I was like. My wife was like, "No, it's always been." I'm like, "It has not been that much." I feel like I just didn't pay attention to the prices, and then I just looked, and it was like jumped up 3 times. But no, I was right. I actually had an old receipt saved to our app, and 2022, it was $2 and change, like $2.40 something.
The funniest thing ever,
almost 3 times in 2 years.
I have to ask this to any of my American friends when they bring up the bag milk thing, because I know it's not a thing down there really. Do you know what a snippet is?
No. Is that the straw thing?
No, it's a little tiny thing that you clip onto the side of your milk jug, and it's what you use to cut open the bag.
So I mentioned
it to no, it cuts the
that's the actual what you gotcha.
Yeah, I mentioned it to again, long time followers of my channel will remember Senor Guapo.
Yes.
And he would always bug me about the bag milk and the ketchup chips and all this and all that. And I said, yeah. Have you figured out what a snippet is yet?
That's why I'm keeping it alive, you know? Gallon of
Yeah.
milk is $3.15 for 1%. I know, and it's terrible. A dozen eggs is insane. All of it. I know. Usually we're right into the wrestling news and NXT, AEW, whatever the coverage might be. But there's so much going on, and it's just been kind of a relaxed stream. And Liz, you absolutely can get some delicious ketchup flavored chips on Amazon. You can get them ordered. Amazon actually has a really cool thing right now where you can order boxes of like foreign sampler foods, and it's one of their own like little monthly subscription things.
I don't know if you can bring it up from your Skype there, but I just sent you a picture of what a snippet is
Let's see here.
for the Americans out there that don't know.
We'll have to go ahead and see how I throw this up. But yeah, it's been interesting. So
We're having a
see
time.
that right there. There's the snippet.
There's the
the snippet.
For anybody that doesn't know, that thing's about the size of your thumb, and it clips onto the side of the jug that you put your milk bag in, and you just do both sides. And every time I'm talking to an American friend or a friend from the UK or whatever, and it's like, oh, I just got to go grab a snippet. They're like, what? What is that?
It's a circumcision tool.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Hopefully not.
you know what? It's she said I had ketchup chips when I went into Washington D.C. Yeah, there you go. And wisps of candy bars. Yeah, real candy
There you
bars.
go.
Real. I mean, the chocolate overseas is incredible. I've had some before, and Hershey's.
Hey, listen, Christmas is coming up soon, and I just went to Walmart the other day, and they absolutely pilfered the Halloween candy right away. But
Oh, absolutely. They got to put the Christmas logos on there now.
Christmas stuff is up, which means all the After Eights are out now. After Eight. Do you guys have After Eight mints?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Those things are. I always love the Andes mints. I don't know if you have those. The little chocolates.
Not a mint fan unless it's in chocolate, but I'm a really picky person with food in general.
It works. All right, so we'll actually get into the NXT of things here. I'll make it official. I'll give us the actual NXT. Now we're back. That took a lot longer than it needed to. It'll click back on YouTube in a second. Yeah, I use XSplit, and it hates me today. For whatever reason, I think it's the transitions. I'm going to have to go back through and change those. I have so much RAM on here, too. It's
Giggity.
unbelievable. I have like 48 gigs of RAM that just doesn't want to cooperate at this point in time.
Hey,
so,
there we are. We're back on screen.
yeah, people should be able to hear us. I tried to do the transition, and that just decidedly hated me. I don't know what's up today because
The delay between us talking and it showing up on the actual YouTube video is like 15 seconds now.
Yeah, usually there's about a 15, 20-second delay, typically.
All right,
So,
cool.
yeah, Streamlabs isn't bad. I like XSplit when it works well. For whatever reason today, my computer is just not agreeing with the update that it applied. So sometimes I'll have to patch it and work through it, but we'll leave the transitions away from it. I think that might have killed it. I apologize. So hopefully we'll get people back in here. We had quite a few. But we go ahead and we get things kicking off right in the beginning there. Jada Parker, Lola Vice in a hardcore match. Dawn Marie is a special guest referee. It was cool to see, Vice give Parker that huge-ass DDT for a near fall. That was a good 2 count.
When she had, I'll say it was like it's not reinventing the wheel, but when she had all the chairs sort of laid out around the ring,
Yeah.
and every time she rolled into a new suplex, she was hitting a different chair. I thought that was a really good thing, and I think they missed the chair with the DDT, but I didn't care.
No, certainly not.
Because when you watch, even you go back to somebody like the measuring stick is either going to be Kurt Angle or Eddie Guerrero for multiple suplexes, right?
Yes.
Brock Lesnar, but you're not allowed to mention Brock Lesnar these days because cancel culture is a thing. But every time you turn into a new suplex, you're going in a different direction. So why would you not set out your chairs appropriately, or else you'd be stopping, turning to get back to the same chair again? I thought for a very small, minor touch, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, certainly. And, they had quite a few things here that was pretty crazy. I appreciated what they gave us, and it was a hell of a match between these two. Good way to start off. Certainly not my favorite thing from the night, but it was good. It had that
Here's the thing, though, right?
feel that we're used to.
Here's the thing, though, is WWE will always be accused of, okay, why would they bother doing an ECW show? They're not going to be as hardcore as ECW. They're not going to be as hardcore as AEW, which is, that's up to taste, right? But there are things that you expect. There are things that become cliche in the WWE version of a hardcore match, right? Like You're going to get a table spot, you're going to get a ladder spot, you're going to get a chair spot, you're going to get this, that, and the next. And because there was a bit of a retro feeling to this show, there was a bit of a, hey, we're kind of keeping the stories going, but we're also kind of having a stop to have fun in this different location with this different set of circumstances with a referee that's not going to be there after tonight and whatever.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it just went through the motions, but it was fun to watch them go through the motions.
Yeah, it was. And that was
And
kind of the thing.
the spot through the ladder in the corner was nice too, where she had they didn't do anything with it, but where she put the chair into the turnbuckle, sort of back of the chair first, so that all four legs were pointing out.
Yes.
And they eventually knocked it out. But I'm like, oh, I hope they're not doing something into there. That could go badly.
Yeah, no kidding.
That could either go really badly, or they're gonna have to be so careful with it that it's not worth doing.
And that was kind of the thing. It was, unfortunately, and they managed not to kill themselves. So.
Oh yeah, and we said it in the preview. Cheap plug for my channel where we did the preview for this tonight's episode of NXT being a special event and all that kind of thing. If you're gonna do something like this, do it with two girls that aren't afraid to hit each other, and these two are not afraid to hit each other.
Certainly not. I mean, these two were raring to go, and that's what I liked about it. You know, they didn't pull their punches. They really went at it, and you can tell they put a lot of effort into what they did here. So, really enjoyed that.
And the guest ref wasn't a huge contributing factor either, which was a nice change of pace.
Yeah,
like
she was kind of a non-entity for the most part, and that's kind of how it should be. You figure for what we've been getting, we get a lot of referee, with Punk, with Seth. There's been quite a bit of, interference and fuckery in general. So interesting to see.
Which makes sense, and we're kind of comparing apples and oranges, but because we know for a fact Dawn Marie is only there for the night. There is no story to tell after tonight. So why would you bother making her face, heel, or indifferent? With Punk, obviously the run-ins and all that sort of thing, the two fingers up to Drew, when they were over in Scotland, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that made sense because that's definitely him fucking with him. That's definitely going towards a story later on down the line. That's the opposite end of the
yin-yang.
guest referee bandwidth.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really good. It was a fun opener. You got a chance to sort of feel out how the crowd was going to sound for the night. Get to what I described horribly earlier as the building seems both really, really claustrophobic and kind of huge at the same time.
Yeah, certainly, and it gave it that bigger feel. I like the way that they did things backstage in between or during the matches. Like they showed in the beginning, you had Bubba with Trick, and they were at a restaurant together. That was kind of cool. You saw all of the women together. You saw Ridge Holland and obviously Ethan Page talking beforehand as well. And they said that they're going to eventually dethrone him as NXT champion for Trick. But, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But I do like that they kind of thread things along now. Whereas Raw is a 3-hour story with a 2-hour time limit, it feels like things are rushed. With this, everything felt seamless in a way because they stitched it together so nicely. To
their credit, though, you are right, and they're not quite there yet, but they are. It does feel like they're figuring that out.
Yeah, and they did better with ending the show tonight too. That's one of the things I've been more critical on. They get to the end and they're like, "Oh my God, we gotta go! Bye." Did you spin the wheel? Ah, fuck. One of those type of like, hurry up, kind of thing. So
cut off Zarya.
Yeah, this is
okay.
This
pause,
was more...
pause, because I know we're going to talk about the ladies later on in the night when they main evented as they should have. NXT has the very unique lower thirds for everybody. It's not just an NXT logo with their name on it. A lot of them are more personalized. Is it just me, or does Zarya's nameplate look like the Netflix font?
Can I unpause?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, it definitely does. I had to be a wise ass. No, it definitely does. And it's got that font to it, which I like. They've handled Zarya so well so far. And here's the thing. They didn't have one massive debut. They had 3.
Yep.
3. We've got Stephanie, Julia, and Zarya. No one feels less than. No one feels forgotten about. And you don't always have to have everybody wrestling, but it's nice to see, like, oh my God, Jordan Grace, and she fits there really well, not being the champion now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see. It was great to have her with the Impact belt. I think Masha's going to have a good run with it at this point. She won't keep it nearly as long, but I'm excited to see some of the defenses that come with that. And then on top of it, it gives us a chance to explore more with Jordan Grace because she doesn't always have to win. She could be a bit more in peril. Like there's some
specifically her and Zarya and their double teams because they're both such powerhouses.
Yeah, some of those things were incredible. So, like I said,
that's a Legion of Doom team. Like
Yeah.
when the penny drops in January and Jordan Grace signs with NXT, we all know what's happening at this point. Okay.
the one I'm waiting for, really, as you know, is I better not say his name. It might appear.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, Javon Evans, Wesley, or I should say, Jada Parker did win the hardcore match. So
Yep.
it was kind of a little bit of a flat
you were right.
ending.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, it was
Because she
you know
did the run against the ropes, and she's a little slow, so it's like it didn't really like when
Yeah.
Braun goes against the ropes a few times and their opponent can't. He's so fast. By the way, quick little tangent. We've had
she's
1,000.
she's aiming with her middle though. So
Yeah, she wants to
have,
hit her junk in the trunk to use it as a weapon.
Yeah.
So yeah,
like,
that
he's
hip
going,
attack
he's going with a shoulder, which is basically a straight thing forward. I mean,
yeah, she's got a turn.
Braun Breaker's an entirely different beast, but like throwing the middle of your body, I don't know what the physics are of that. Like it's got to be a more awkward feeling. And I will say when they did the hip attack in the corner, when she had Lola in the can,
Yeah.
but there was another can behind them.
Yes.
I wasn't sure whether that was actually supposed to be there or not.
I don't know either, but it was a good moment because it looked like a stiff shot. Regardless,
It was louder because
Yes.
you had multiple pieces of metal. But
And those cans are always kind of silly when people are, you put it over them, you're hitting them, and obviously it's not affecting them. But the sounds and all that, the hip attack.
but with a full body attack like a hip attack or a spear, you're not necessarily hitting the person, but you're causing disorientation, and I could see the person like being smacked around inside the can, and that's where the damage happens. It's like when they talk about I don't want to talk into another serious conversation again, but it's like when they talk about concussion, don't worry about the bruise on the back of your head.
Yes.
Worry about what's shaking around inside your skull.
Exactly.
Now
you took the fishbowl and shook the goldfish.
Yeah. Now, a much lighter example as a person standing inside a garbage can, but the similar thing can happen. Yes, you're not hitting them, you're hitting the can, but that means the can's moving and they're hitting the inside of the can.
Yeah.
Now, with the kendo sticks and like maybe if you got Daniel Bryan doing some yes kicks, that's a different story.
That's what I'm
altogether.
talking about when they're hitting the can. And yeah.
That's why I preferred, I guess is the right word to use, the whole hip attack rather than just the strikes. And but this is what I say again. If they had gone with like, kendo sticks to the trash can, that's some of the cliche WWE hardcore stuff. And in an exhibition like this, special night like this, I would almost like to have that satisfying. Oh, they're going through the motions. I know that motion.
Yeah, and shout out to Casey Raw in the chat. What's going on, bud? But yeah,
Hey.
I genuinely. I like the match. I think it's less of how it ended, and it's that's her finisher. That's her ending. I know she's thick. I know she's got the hips to hit, but here's the problem with me. It just never looks great. You're just kind of bumping against somebody, so it's really hard to – you got to aim well. You got to get the head, and I'm tired of that and headbutts. I was never a fan of headbutts to begin with. Ask Rhea Ripley. She's got a broken orbital socket now because of it, and continues to prove
didn't know that was a legit thing. We were putting that over as a hell of an angle last week, and then we found out, oh shit, it's real.
It made sense as to why they had to do it at NXT. They had to hurry up and wrap this up because she was supposed to face Raquel at the Saudi show. So,
and I think as well, they said one of the other reasons they did it at the NXT thing. Well, she's got the tie with Zarya, but also it meant she didn't have to travel with the damage to her head.
Exactly, because they didn't want her to fly. So.
I mean, it all makes sense, and I if people are making their homesteads around NXT, then just do it in the NXT parking lot. There's already that built-in lore that we laugh about that the NXT parking lot is the most dangerous place in wrestling.
Absolutely. And, that's kind of the thing. NXT, nowhere more dangerous. I mean, there's nowhere safer than AEW and nowhere more dangerous than the NXT parking lot. So it was an interesting, opening match. Jada gets the win. We get on to Javon Evans, who, don't worry, his push is coming against Wes Lee. Here's the thing. Both men really needed this win here. Mm-hmm. And I see why they went with Javon, but I'm worried about Wes Lee. Not overly concerned, like it's, oh my God. a little perplexed. I'm like, all right, where does he kind of go from here? What do we see with, I know he's not essentially completely finished with the Rascals. They can always touch back on that, but I don't want them always
think that's the
falling back to
problem.
that either. Yeah.
I think that's the problem, is that they told a kind of interesting story, and the Rascals split was one of the first big stories of the NXT.
That was a huge shock.
I liked bringing them together. I didn't necessarily like breaking them up. I thought they were going to win the tag titles and then blah, blah, blah. We don't need to go over that again.
Like the Shield turning when Roman announced his cancer again and they won the tag titles. That's when you decide to turn? After you win the belts?
Yeah, WWE's done some bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said when I got my Twitter back, short plug again, at Countdown Ended, I was looking back, and a couple of the tweets were like, oh, my God, I cannot believe how terrible wrestling and life is, and kill me now kind of things. And it just made me chuckle.
But isn't your last tweet from, 2018?
No, mine was from 2021. So I had stopped.
Maybe you were
actually, no, 22. So sorry, yeah. And no, 21. Yeah, 21, October 21. And John Albert said, I'm just being completely honest and real. I've been watching Monday Night Raw for 24 years, so 26 almost at this point. He said, I can't remember a time as I've been as uninterested in the show as I am right now. Ironically, in a time where I've never loved pro wrestling as much as I do now. And you figure in the end of the Thunderdome and all those things, it still was far from great. Things were getting interesting at that point. That's when AEW was in its swing and doing well, but WWE
that was when you were allowed to talk about numbers and nobody would yell at you for it.
Yeah, certainly.
By the time we get to recording State of Wrestling tomorrow, we should have the numbers for this show and AEW. And I don't think I'm going to watch this episode of AEW from what I've heard.
There really wasn't much. I'm going to give you the very super quick instant rundown while we're in the middle of NXT. 60 seconds is the goal here. You got the Death Riders coming out in the beginning. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy. They take on Pac and Claudio. So of course the the underlings of the Ku Klux Combat Club. And the Death Riders go ahead and they're defeated by the upstanding heroes, Darby Allin, who didn't come out of the rafters this time, and Orange Cassidy. Everybody was
randomly
upset
in front of commentary.
Yeah, because they went ahead and had a DQ ending with obviously Marina Shafir getting involved, comes in, and that leads to the instant DQ. So she starts beating the crap out of people. Moxley enters, and they put on a submission and beat everybody up, and they brawl and battle. Felt disappointing to have that kind of an opening.
Stupid question that probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When was the last time Marina Shafir had a match?
I think it was when she cut that violence promo and you don't know me and all that, all that awful shit. And it's been a while, so quite some time.
Shout out to Casey Ezra pointing out that by this time they should at least have some security or cops trolling the NXT parking lot.
They really should. I was going to bring that up.
But then you wouldn't have the running joke anymore.
You wouldn't, but it would be funny if Ava one night was like, I hired a shit ton of security. I am tired of this. And you just had them all outside, like armed guards. So second up there, Learning Tree takes on the Conglomeration. And I say, skip. The heels lost. What do you give a shit? It's a Ring of Honor match. That's what it is.
But what did they call it? They tried to, because we're doing ECW, they had to do some kind of hardcore match. So what was it? The match without honor? Was that a thing?
You're right. It was a match without honor. And it was this big, hardcore, heavy-hitting match. And each guy, sold and went into it well. But it was just this is Ring of Honor on AEW. So it felt very dismissed and all right, skip this, get over with, because that's how they've treated Ring of Honor. Then we got Adam Cole taking on Malachi Black. The broadcast team lets us know that Black is 6-0 in matches against Adam Cole. So Adam Cole was all but screwed entering this one, but he wins. He gets himself the boom knee from behind in about a 12-minute match. It was good, not great. I was hoping for a bit more for what I did get to see. But from when I did tune in, it seemed like the crowd, and I'm not being nitpicky here, you could tune in, except for the big finish, the kick and the knee. They were silent pretty much through this whole thing. And now, I guess, because Cole and Roddy had both won their 3 matches, instead of whoever won it first gets to face MJF, now it's going to be a triple threat. So you're going to have MJF taking on Roddy and Cole, who are partners in the Undisputed Kingdom. So isn't it a 2-on-1 handicap match then? So you're telling me they both have the same idea. They both want to destroy MJF, and then they're going to take each other out. Like, why are you telling it this way? It's
a signpost for Undisputed Kingdom turning on Adam Cole.
Yeah, and
I didn't even watch the show. I didn't even watch the show, and I can tell you that.
It's just, of course, they're going to turn on Paige and try and create
and
heat.
The other thing I do have to touch on as well, before it falls out of my head, because somebody, once again, I'm going to say shout out to the guys at the Wrestling for Life Network, KJ, Nick, Ringsider, Anthony. I was watching their watch along because they were trying to live react to both shows. So kudos to those guys. They got more in them than I do tonight. And one of them, I can't remember whether it was KJ or Nick, mentioned the fact of nothing says we're going to take down NXT tonight like booking an NXT rematch on Dynamite.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's why they were going the 6-0 rule is not in NXT. They're not in AEW. They're counting their NXT history as well. So funny that they bring that up. Chris Statlander, then she
funny
goes
that
ahead.
They bring that up, but they don't mention that the better rivalry that Malachi Black had in WWE was that constant cycle of matches that he had with Buddy Murphy. But oh wait, we can't do that because they're in the same group.
So it doesn't make a great deal of sense. Then you get Renee is backstage, and you've got Statlander. She's talking about facing Mercedes, and then Mercedes and Camille come and attack her. So there's a big commotion, and Chris Statlander avoided being hit by an SUV that Camille was driving. So she gets out of the way, and then she slams Camille's arm in the SUV door, and Monet is like, oh, you can't do anything right. And that's when Statlander smashes her head on the roof of the car, or the hood of the car, excuse me. And
Monet's or Camille's?
Monet's. So Statlander now beat the shit out of both of them, even though they were surprise attacking her and trying to run her over. So I don't know what they're trying to accomplish, but whatever.
After social media shenanigans last night, I wouldn't be surprised if both Camille and Jake Hager sort of quietly disappear from wrestling for a while. They were posting unpopular political opinions, because freedom of speech doesn't really mean freedom of speech. I don't agree with the stuff that they were saying. Let me be clear for those of you out there that know. But it's one of those, don't have an opinion. It might cost you your job. And I'm saying they're AEW guys. I really don't give a shit. I don't.
That's the problem. There's nothing here that's grabbing my attention. Statlander goes from heel to face to back to heel, then back to face. So now she's a face again, and we're supposed to just immediately be behind her. And then the Camille thing, she looks like a moron. And Monet, you know how I feel about Sasha Stank. So then you get...
See, the thing about Statlander, though, is... and
the Andromeda. She's back from the Andromeda. She's an alien again, Spaz. Don't forget now.
I got to give credit where it's due, or criticism means nothing, right? Statlander is one of those people that I don't care what I don't care what story she's in. If she's got a match, I'll watch it, because I do find her really entertaining in the ring.
Yeah.
So, she's flip-flopping a lot, and if I didn't enjoy her as much as I do in the ring, I'd probably call that out more, but she's one of the better ones to watch. I mean, you got Athena, but you've got her trapped on ROH, because if you didn't, nobody would watch ROH.
Yeah, and Hager is not in AEW, Liz. He's been gone for a while, and he went off on AEW the other day. So that's something I wanted to bring up on the state of wrestling because of some of the comments he made. Yeah. But then, again, quick, so Christian comes out.
But he got cut from some indie stuff because he was, the certain inflammatory accusations towards Tony Khan. I don't want to get your channel off.
No, but we'll get into it.
But also the... some political issues that have been brought up very, very highly in the current election that just passed.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, I don't care if I agree with you or not. If you're just saying your opinion, you should be allowed to say it.
Exactly. But
I don't
people
really
don't follow that. And I guess if it's your employment, whatever. But Christian comes out.
I don't really have anything nice to say about Camille, but if you're going to get her kicked off the screen, don't have it be for something like that.
Exactly. Christian says, Hook, I attacked your father. I took him out with a lead pipe for you. Do you want to be a commentary, man, or do you want to be a multi-time revered champion? And that's pretty much how they, how they had it. So whatever. Now they're also booking Brian Cage and Lance Archer. You know, everything dies. Everybody must die. That bullshit. So they're having them win squash matches to book them up with the crap they got traded for. Jamie Hayter, who they've done nothing with since her return, took on Penelope Ford and beat her in a 4-minute match. I mean, really quick, nothing to it. Live crowds aren't popping for her. They're not cheering for Hayter because why would you're having her take on Penelope Ford? So we haven't seen Miss Pit Stop in how long now? It's been what, at least a year, I want to say, somewhere around there. If she has been on, it's been completely forgettable.
Sorry, got to cut you off. DJ Anime in the chat saying Christian was taking pot shots at ECW tonight.
I tuned in and out back and forth, so you'll have to let us know, Liz, exactly what was said. I didn't catch all of it going back and forth, but I'm sure he did because he was talking about Taz a bunch. And he's like, your father's weak, and Christian said Taz is not a real legend from when I was, like I said. So he's like, Taz was in an outlaw promotion, and he called him a big fish in a small pond. So I guess that's the ECW comments that I've seen on Twitter. I'm sorry,
I still like Julia before tonight's episode of NXT saying we're about to show them where the Big Bang is.
But see, that's a subtle jab, but that's not. You're talking about a comedy show, and that's their lead-in, but you're not even really mentioning the company. That's so.
There's a way to do it,
yeah,
and be
funny and not vitriolic.
There's a better word, but I'm not thinking tonight clearly because I'm tired. But there's ways to take jabs and be like sporting.
To do it
about
with parody, yeah. Do it in a fun sense is what I'm saying. You're not doing it out of vitriol or hate. You're being competitive, but not hate-filled.
Ruffle their hair, give them a quick elbow in the ribs type thing. Not smacking somebody in the face. It's a bad idea from bad creative. Well, look where you're working now.
Bad creative spaz. Then we get Takeshita. So Take a Shit and Shaved Head Fletcher comes out. And Fletcher, looking like a bald baby bitch, takes
Britney
on
Spears from Australia.
Yeah, takes on Ricochet and the returning powerhouse Hobbs. What a waste for Hobbs. Comes back here, and they'll forget about him in a couple weeks again. I guess it was an okay match. Will Ospreay also with a haircut.
They've been teasing that it was going to be Dijak for like 5 days.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was not thrilled with the reveal. I thought Dijak really made a good, convincing argument as to why he should be there, and I thought it was all but a done thing from some of the news we heard. But you got Ospreay, he runs out, takes out Fletcher, and then Davis also joined in. So, all right. I mean, Mark Davis looked like shit the other day. They really went ahead and he came out looking all disheveled and just kind of, I don't know if that was the intentional sell or he just forgot to bring his gear, but then they had Lance Archer and Brian Cage come out, so it's this whole, and then Adam Cole's there to take on Takeshita, so it's going to be this big thing. So we're getting for next week's Dynamite, we're getting Takeshita versus Cole, and then we're going to have Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler versus Mark Briscoe, Tomohiro Ishii, and Kyle O'Reilly for the Trios titles. And that's going to be on Collision. So, excuse me, not Dynamite, on Collision. So that was the end of the night. Ospreay closes the show with Hobbs. People are happy to see him return, but overall it just feels very forgettable and like a total miss. I'm not crazy with what they've done with Ricochet. Their biggest star right now should be Ospreay, and it just feels like he's in this fight with his little group, and Kyle Fletcher doesn't feel like he's really deserving of Ospreay's main event time right now. And they're all in this stall. The title is not on TV because Moxley's not carrying it with him, so you kind of forget he's the champion. It's just not a great point.
Is what's her name? Shafir still carrying around that suitcase?
Yeah, she's carrying it handcuffed to her wrist. And
because the rumor that I've heard about that, and it's just like I say, just whispers on the wind, pretty much nothing really substantial. But apparently, part of John Moxley breaking AEW so he could make it in his own image is that the belt is in that suitcase in pieces.
Yeah, and part of it honestly is that it's the Blues Brothers thing. It's the Jake and Elwood Blues. They got the briefcase, it's handcuffed to her wrist, and they're trying to make her look like more of a badass, but I just don't see her like that. Now she suddenly talks like a Russian accent, and she's Natasha. This kind of, it just, I don't know. It's not a
even
total,
Masha Slamovich dropped that.
Yeah, so I don't know. All of their faces don't kind of feel great. Swerve goes from heel to face so often. Again, you want to cheer for him, but you're not sure. And then him taking on the Hurt Business is just, It's very illogical right now to have the Hurt Business there while Moxley's doing all this shit. Like, wouldn't you have them take out Moxley or something? None of it. The Elite's gone. Kenny Omega came back in another company. Back to NXT.
I'm sorry, but like the what kills me, and I hate saying this because I used to be a huge fan of MVP.
Yeah.
Right. And even when he retired and became more of a mouthpiece, I thought he added a lot. Not quite to the level of a Paul Heyman, and people are going to accuse me of obvious things because I've said that now. But he served a really good role. He had a really good vibe with Bobby Lashley at one point when it was just the two of them. But they've been so vocal and so bitchy since leaving WWE about how the Hurt Business was, this, that, and the next.
Again, yeah. Oh, we wanted to make Nazis hate black people. Why didn't you love us?
No, but not even that.
That's what they're complaining about.
I know. No, the Walter thing's more recently, but I'm talking about since they left WWE, and even when they were still in WWE, when people wanted to see the Hurt Business, oh, why don't you throw Cedric Alexander in there? Why don't you get Shelton Benjamin in there? And MVP sat back with the pretty predictable, oh, I guess you want to throw together all these people that look alike. That's the WWE fans for you. And we're going to show how bad that is by leaving WWE and doing the same thing in another company.
And that's what kind of bothers me, too, when people go to AEW and they go, oh, what about Cody? Cody was more the person but he changed aspects of himself. He changed his promo style. He changed how he presented himself from AEW to WWE. The AEW fans kind of ate him alive. They cannibalized him because he was more sports entertainment than wrestling. And that's what we saw on NXT tonight. We had great wrestling, and Dynamite had some, I'm sure, good matches. Liv said some of the stuff was explosive, and I'm sure because they have good talent. It's just a matter of they're lacking characters, so people aren't cheering. They're sitting on their hands silent. NXT the entire night. I mean, even in the Saudi show, those fans did not shut up. And if you're going to take the moral high ground, not want to watch the Saudi show, you better not watch Raw as well. Shots fired, but Semper Fifi. But honestly, the thing that bothers me more than all of it is it doesn't bother me because I like seeing the kids and the families and it's like over there gets to benefit from something that we enjoy. They have the permanent installation of the WWE World thing, which I think is great.
See, that's the problem that I've always had, and I will be serious for a second because once again, I'm going to take the piss out of a lot of stuff here. The problem with the Saudi shows, and we touched on it when we did the preview as well. If you don't choose to watch the show because of X, Y, and Z, the way things are in the world, I have no problem with that. Cool. Do what you think is right. If it means you don't check out my preview podcast because I'm talking about the show that you're not going to watch, then cool. Very, very honestly, cool. I'll see you next time type of thing, right? But to say that it shouldn't happen because it's the sports washing, it's the whitewashing and all this type of stuff, fine. But also listen to those fans, look at those kids, know that this is the only way they're going to get that show.
Exactly.
And know that by doing that, you're also shutting out that part of the world. And again, I don't know if Saudi Arabia has Netflix, but they're all going to be watching it when it goes worldwide, right? So it's one of those I'm with people. However you look at the Saudi shows, whether you're appalled by the business arrangement with the government and what the government does, and you don't want anything to do with it, honestly, cool. Fill your boots, do something else that day. It's all good. If you are like me, and I'm kind of ignorant on some of the issues involved, so I don't speak about them too much, I do sort of put it on the shelf a little bit and take the show as a show, then cool. Let's talk about the show. But when you're saying that it shouldn't happen at all, you are telling that audience that has nothing to do with whatever their government has done and telling them, we don't like your government, so you don't get a show.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you have to balance those two or three different sides of the equation in your mind when you're talking about the Saudi shows, and they're not disposable. Anymore.
Liz made a good point too. Yuta doesn't make a convincing heel, so him the other day on Collision too kind of ruined that entire segment with Orange Cassidy. And then what is Okada doing? She's right, because
Yuta is
$5 million for Okada. He gave the worst tombstone pile driver last week I've ever seen, and now that the Elite's gone, he's going to be off TV too. I mean, come on, what a waste! It's just
true, but I will say Yuta looks like a big child that got a beard from a friggin' got himself some
Costume
facial hair
shop.
from a costume. There we go.
With a nose and glasses. I no, I totally agree. He feels like the child that got to go and tour along for the day. Thankfully, Rob Van Dam was in the back.
But I should clarify. I do think he's good in the ring. Away from the shit creative and the shit character and the shit other stuff,
he's okay.
He is good in the ring. I like him in the ring.
Yeah, he's not a bad wrestler, like you said, with the right opponent, but he's lacking again in character and believability. So
he's not somebody I'm tuning in to see.
No, Rob Van Dam has all the character in the world. Back to NXT. That's right. You're here live with myself at Countdown Ended with at Spaz Phoenix. What, live or one? Is it on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's just Spaz Phoenix.
Okay, at Spaz Phoenix, making sure I have it right. And,
yeah, I had to have Spaz Phoenix 1 for a while because like month to month 1 would get blocked, and then I got rid of Spaz Phoenix 1.
Okay, making sure I wasn't on the wrong page there.
Spaz Phoenix podcast on all your broadcast platforms.
It has been a little bit of time since I've been on Twitter, so you're going to have to excuse me a little bit if I'm a little out of the element. But no, honestly, it's great to be back. I'm happy that I finally got some customer service. That was nice. And thank you guys for tuning in to Into Somewhere. The debut episode will have, your NXT reviews as well as, a little bit of news, rumor from everything else. We're covering Dynamite tonight, which we usually don't do. I say we, but I'm telling you about Dynamite. All in all, like I said, not a great night. Full gear, the lineup, Moxley, Orange Cassidy, he's not going to win. Statlander, Mercedes isn't doing anything for me. Private Party, it's like now you finally gave them the belts. They're not bad champions, but it's against 3 teams to be determined still. And then you have Hangman, Jay White. They announced tonight that we're going to go ahead and get Bobby Lashley taking on Swerve Strickland. MJF faces Triple Threat, Roderick Strong, Adam Cole. And then the pre-show, we have the Costco boys. That's right. Big Boom. Boom! AJ with his Justice on there taking on QT Marshall, who I thought quit, got fired, whatever. Not a great thing. I don't know what we'll be doing for that.
Hey, QT was on MLP the other week. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Don't mind me while I lose my headset for a minute.
I saw, but that's why we cover each other.
I was going to say something there, and it's totally gone. Oh, DJ Anime in the chat mentioned Jey Uso.
Yes.
Do you hear the latest thing about Jey Uso? He is outselling CM Punk and Roman Reigns combined.
That is massive
for merch.
Even with Punk taking a little bit of a break, that is wild.
That's insane.
Absolutely wild.
It usually is a stick to beat WWE with. Some of their shit is pretty bland. I think Jey Uso has some of the more unique merch out there right now. Like, it's not just black shirt, stamp a logo in the center, off to the races. Like, he's got
his Yeet stuff has some really cool designs. It's kind of not tie-dye, but like that kind of vibrant look. And then on top of it, at first I'm like, he's kind of just an entrance, but no, he's made a great point. The difference is exact. It is purposeful. It is stated very well. You now know who is Jay and who is Jimmy, because even I used to get them confused, and I was doing this as a job. I'm telling you, a job that's free, but still.
They used to look pretty identical too. They do like the same beard type, the same hair type, the identical.
So now
gear.
we have Big Jim, Main Event Jay. We've got that good difference between the two.
You don't have somebody constantly entering through the crowd and making those interactive entrances through the crowd every week as a standard if you don't know that you're going to get that reaction every week.
I even like the evolution of it, Spaz. I like that they're going from, Roman did this for years. It came out through the crowd, and Jay always kind of looked up to Roman, so it's like, I can do this now.
Opposite. His was the opposite, though, because whether it was a good guy, whether it was a bad guy, whether he was doing it with the Shield, they were very still and stoic.
Yeah, they were supposed to be intimidating.
And Jay's the opposite,
because he's loving the crowd. So it's the difference of the two. But still, he's like, I got to watch my big cousin come to the crowd. I always wanted to do that. It was cool to hear. And it's like, well, now he's able to do that in his own way. And it's not like Roman, like you said. It's his own spin.
And the story. a lot of people have touched on it in various pods as well.
Yes.
You can tell a story with an entrance.
Yes.
Look at Crown Jewel.
Mm-hmm.
The Bloodline kind of got back together for a night to face Bloodline 2.0.
But not as a cohesive unit. And they sold that very well with the entrances, like you said.
Roman comes out with Jimmy. Jimmy's already bought in. Jay, we're very much doing this for the night because WWE accidentally leaked a graphic on the internet.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Liz has several Yeet shirts, so she's on to the smart of it. But yes, we'll get back into NXT. Excuse us, but Rob Van Dam get his ass kicked, not in the parking lot. Gets attacked by Wes Lee, kind of off camera. They're not like really showing you direct at first, and you see Rob's laid out with a chair.
I think he's got to have something wrong because they did the attack off screen and then he wasn't involved in the match.
And you heard the week before that he wanted to wrestle, so definitely sounds like he got an injury or couldn't get clear. Something's up with it. It was odd because then it was kind of like, oh, I guess that's how because they didn't really announce how they were booking Rob, and it wasn't going to be another special guest.
Well, they just announced the match.
Yeah,
they just announced the match as a match.
Exactly. So that was kind of
we did all of our fun speculation for nothing.
Exactly, and it was like, oh, so that's how they booked him. But so later on in the match, Javon Evans is kind of getting his ass kicked, and then RVD comes out. You hear his music. That distracts Wes Lee, and this is after. So Javon Evans, he goes ahead and he's getting set up for the cardiac kick, and then all of a sudden he catches him, but then it just completely rocks the hell out of Evans. Wes Lee hits him with a great super kick, gets a poison rana, and then does the cardiac kick. And I was like, oh, he's not kicking out of that. But Javon did. I was like, oh, shit. And that's when Wes Lee goes to grab a chair.
Before the first commercial break in this match, too, I don't know what it was on the outside. It looked like a DDT that had gone a little bit wrong. They went in on Javon really, really, really close up, and I thought he had fucked himself up.
Are you on the stairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was a brain buster on the stairs. Okay. I from one angle it looked like a DDT, but no, he lifted him straight up and then down, and oh my God, that was brutal. And like you said, that was before even the first commercial break. So when they got back, they were already teetering on the top rope. So I'm like, what the hell are you two doing? You're up there, and we got that big avalanche Hurricane Rana, and then punching each other. And that's when I said, Wes Lee, he's trying to get him with the big boot. And then he sets up for the cardiac kick, gets the super kick, the poison rana. Evans gets the kick out. Wes Lee is pissed. He's done. He grabs a chair, slides it into the ring. The ref grabs the chair, and then Evan rolls him up, but Wes Lee kicks out. And we get that great cutter moment. You think, is this going to be it? He goes to the second rope. He's going to pin him, and then Wes Lee rolls out. And what happens? He moves out of the way. He's not going to hit the self-delete dive there. And RVD's music hits.
That's gonna be a thing, isn't it?
Right? Self-delete dive. He unalive dived out to the outside. So Wes Lee goes ahead, tries to hit RVD with the chair, but Van Dam just moves out of the way, like doesn't even get an offensive punch or kick in there, just moves out. And that gives Javon enough of an advantage to hit the tope self-deletion. And from there, we get the cutter. Frog Splash, uno, dos, tres. Thank you for coming out, Wes Lee. You've been beat. Javon Evans, he needed this win too. I mean, it goes. I could argue for both, and I could argue against for both, but I think Javon comes out on top just a little bit more with who needed the win here.
I think they needed this match more than either one of them needed to win, just because.
Okay,
there's nobody quite like Wes Lee other than Javon, and vice versa. Like, they're the guys that are made to face each other. So when we came out, because it was these two and Ethan Page fought to see who was going to get the title shot at the last pay-per-view. Yeah. And I thought this match was going to end up on the pay-per-view as like a grudge thing. And it didn't, and then it turned out they were saving it for here, and it was a lot of fun. I want to see these guys go a couple more rounds, honestly.
You and me both, and I think they have more coming soon enough. So that's why I'm excited. Lots more come. Then, speaking
this could be NXT's Carmelo versus Andrade.
Yeah, like the next forever feud. I wouldn't be upset with it. Best of 7 for these two. Mwah, chef's kiss. And there's only a lot of times I'm not big into repeat matches. Like maybe get a rematch out of a while if it's a big title picture. But if it's a singles thing and there's not a title involved, get in, get out unless the story requires it. This is one of those times where you could really say like they push each other, and you could do a lot with this. So we finally get Ava's announcement after this, and she's in the ring with who? Stone and
Stevie Turner.
Turner. I always forget her name. Thank you, Spaz. And we go ahead and we get the announcement that we were kind of expecting. We're getting the Iron Survivor Challenge for the men and women returning at NXT Deadline in Minnesota. So the Iron Survivor Challenge, so it's a 25-minute match. You got 5 wrestlers, 2 start every 5 minutes. Another wrestler enters. Yeah. The 5th and final participant enters at the 15-minute mark, and whoever gets the most points before the time ends wins. And there's a penalty box, right? So if you get pinned, submit, whatever, disqualified, you got to go there for 90 seconds.
If you take a fall, which is pin, submission, count out, or disqualification, you're in the box for 2 minutes, and the person that got the fall on you gets a point.
Yes.
And then it's a matter of, and I like it because it kind of, I think when they first created this thing and Shawn Michaels first announced it a couple of years ago, I don't think you and I were in contact at the time.
No, but I was off trying to die, but
I like this
because life wouldn't have it.
It negates a big problem with the Rumble in the sense of if somebody comes in at number 30 in the Rumble and they win, you say, "Oh my God, I went through 29 other guys." Well, you didn't really.
Yeah. I survived 29 other superstars. No, you didn't. You survived how many were left by the time you entered. With this, you still have to go through 5 people. No one's fully eliminated. And if you enter last, you still have 10 minutes to make your mark. So,
but this is my point, though, is it's not as simple as the last guy in has the advantage.
No.
The last guy in has the advantage of being the freshest.
Yes.
The first guy in, or girl, has the advantage of they've had the most amount of time to accumulate wins. So it's not as simple as just one. Like if you're going into the Rumble, you want to be number 30. So, well, depending on how your strategy is in the Iron Survivor, you could want to be 1, or 5,
or depending on how you want to handle it. And here's the thing: I don't know if anybody in the chat liked the Iron Survivor matches or not. I enjoyed it.
I think they're great.
I think they're very well done. And here's the thing: it's so on the line of being reverse battle royal Russo-esque because it has a lot of moving parts. So it's like a Rumble. You got people entering. It's like an Iron Man match because you have the accumulation of pinfalls, submissions, countouts, DQs, all that stuff. Points matter.
It's more King of the Mountain than reverse battle royal.
But no, I know. But I'm saying like Russo's great ideas because they get overbooked and it doesn't make sense. This match can go to shit very quickly if you don't plan things out right because of the penalty box. Think about it. One wrong fall and the guy you want to win does it like. So to have them work out a 25-minute match, knowing who has to be in the penalty box when, for how long, and what they're going to do to come back, and knowing that it's set and it is predetermined. I always love how this feels. Juan loves the Iron Survivor matches, and Liz agrees. I'm excited to go ahead and see how they bring this back.
I thought it was one of those. The first one they ever did was the most important because the first one they did was okay. This is where people are going to decide right away that this concept works or it doesn't. I really like it. I think of all the things introduced in the we can't go anywhere but the PC era, the first time I saw this, I was like, okay, it's a lot of fun. It's something they can play with. I am somebody that likes the King of the Mountain match. It's such a bizarre concept that it's fun to watch. The first time I saw
the first one you had Grayson Waller, and he won. He defeated Carmelo Hayes, JD McDonough, Joe Gacy, and Axiom. And then the women, you had Roxanne win against Zoe, Cora, Kiana James, and Indy Hartwell. Mm-hmm. So, like you said, groundbreaking in the way it was done. I liked both matches. They were kind of in the point where, like, the women's division felt like it was kicking more than the men's, which still kind of is to a certain extent, but it doesn't feel as drastic.
I think it's overwhelmingly leaning towards the ladies right now.
What I'm saying is, like, as interest goes, like, I'm still interested in the men. The women have the advantage, no doubt about it, but I'm not like, basically I'm saying I don't have just the women to look forward to. At one point in time, it kind of felt like, I'm not crazy about Grayson Waller, but I really like Roxanne, and that kind of.
Yeah.
So, and then the second one, I'm trying to remember. That one, I was what? Okay, so I had to look that up because that one I don't remember. I remember the first year, but
the first time they did it was in the PC, and I really liked the concept, and I was like, it was like a lot of things during COVID. Okay, this is something they're just trying because it's COVID times and because we're in close proximity and all that.
Yeah.
But then when they decided to hold on to it as a concept, they did it in an arena show.
They did it in Connecticut and here in Bridgeport.
Okay.
I was supposed to go to it, and I ended up very, very sick at that point.
Yeah.
I had tickets to go to that, and tried not to, kill myself last year at this point. But Christmas sucked. I had some rough goes of it.
But
But
as soon as they put it in an arena and it looked so much better in the arena, I like that.
and that's where they had NXT 25 that I went to with Cole and Johnny Gargano. So this was a really cool arena.
Same
and
place, yeah.
Makes everybody. So Trick took on Dijak, Briggs, Braun Breaker, and Tyler Bate. So that was more stacked than the first years.
Trick came in and swept it like right at the end too.
Yeah,
it was a really like a.
Back
I don't
to
want to say
back.
nail biting. I don't want to be like over dramatic, but they really did achieve that right down to the wire.
Yeah, because he got the first pinfall at the 23:45 mark or 23:46, and the next one was 24 minutes 27 seconds. So he got two schoolboy like roll up pins. Then he got a jackknife hold on Bate at 24:40, and then he pinned Braun Breaker with 4 seconds remaining for the trick shot to win. Because Braun had 3 points against Briggs, Bate, and Dijak, all with the spear. And that was all 10 seconds from each other already. Remember, he got the spears, and he got it at all the 10-second intervals after he got them. So that was really cool with Breaker. And to me, like I said, thinking about it now, it's like, oh, yeah, that's what that was. But I had to go, and the women was Davenport winning, Stratton, Lash Legend, Kalani Jordan, and Fallon Henley. And I was like, I kind of like the first one more with Roxanne. But it was still good. Point being, though, I'm excited that that's back. I like that Rhino had the lights out moment. And I even like commentary because that doesn't happen often. So
before we hop into the Rhino thing, because the Rhino thing is an ECW thing, but also it's a TNA thing as well. So we'll get to that in a second. The reason I like this announcement, because we heard you and I talk throughout the day about a couple of the other things. There is a rumor out there that NXT is going to have a War Games match as well. I haven't had it verified by anybody. Again, just whispers on the wind. I think with the ladies in NXT, that's a way better way to build a War Games match than to try and cobble something together.
No, you're not
last
wrong.
Minute. So if that's the thing that people were saying, it was going to be the announcement of more road shows, which is good. It's an expansion of the show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I like this because we kind of already thought it was happening. It just kind of solidified that it was happening. And it's one of those structure things in the wrestling year that doesn't really matter, but I kind of wish it did, is that, I see it. I see what you put up there. The way that Royal Rumble really kicks off the year, the road to WrestleMania is the first home stretch of the beginning of the year. I really hope they solidify Deadline and the Iron Survivor as a concept as the thing that wraps up the year.
Yeah, I like having that be the last thing as well,
because it gives us two brand new number one contenders. It sets us up to hit the ground running in January, do New Year's Evil. I hope they turn New Year's Evil into a proper PLE as well.
Yeah,
but,
that'd be fun.
But yeah, just the way, like, okay, War Games is November. Rumble used to be January.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have Deadline be
April.
That Christmas end of year thing.
But to have it not only be a thing that happens every year, but to be a wrap up, because everything else that's sequential throughout the year is like, we're kicking off the year.
We're getting out of here.
We're kicking off the year. We're doing the first stretch of the year between Rumble and Mania.
Yeah.
There's no real wrap up. I mean, we had not New Year's Revolution. What was the Armageddon?
Yeah.
Back in the day, and that was the
That
idea.
was the end of
The idea of being at like the end of days and whatever. But if we can solidify Deadline, and also it's kind of nice to solidify that the thing that wraps up the year is NXT.
Yeah.
Not WWE, because there's been a lot of talk about the fact that there is no proper PLE in December. We've got Saturday night's main event, which apparently is going to be treated like a PLE.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then you've got this now.
And I mean, look at Survivor Series here. We see it, and it's like with the War Games, they're featuring NXT women on there heavily, so it does land some credence to the news that you heard that they might be having a War Games with the women in NXT. That would be
That would be awesome.
Ooh,
I
or
mean, now
having
it's got
them
Ripley
featured
on it. I think she's got to fix her face.
but imagine if they went ahead and, too bad Rhea Ripley's injured. Maybe she'll be cleared by then. You never know. But imagine she goes ahead and she's like, I need help. She goes to NXT to get the help instead of, because she needs females. That's why she was there to take on Liv Morgan and her team. Kind of interesting.
And they've already told the story of her being so happy that her country woman is now there. So
and that would work great because you don't really have who are you going to have for the War Games match on the women's side of things right now? The men is really the bloodline.
See, this is where I thought initially that it would be an interesting story because if it was because the bloodline story is happening on SmackDown mostly, I thought the Raw story was going to be like a Team Liv versus Team Rhea.
Yeah,
I thought how can I say this? I thought it would be a really good way to differentiate the two matches and the two stories of the two matches because the Bloodline is the Bloodline.
Yeah.
You know who's on the Bloodline. You know who's on the Bloodline 2.0. I think if you told the opposite story with the ladies, as nobody really likes Rhea because she's so successful and dominant, and there's some jealousy involved in there or whatever, and nobody likes Liv Morgan really because she's a bitch, and like a crazy bitch, and we like it. I think the story of them actually having to go
get help
and try to recruit people.
Yeah, because you're going to need backup, and who does Rhea have? I mean, that's the thing. She doesn't have anybody on the main roster.
I mean, there's generic good guy people.
Which I always
Raw.
kind of don't like. It's like, we got to go to the face locker room and pick out some. I mean, if you got to pick out some backup, I get it. But typically, this makes sense.
But I don't think you do that from the Rhea Ripley perspective. I think you do that from the and I'm thinking of right off the top of my head, Lyra Valkyria, Casey Catanzaro, and Katana Chance, not from the perspective of Rhea Ripley would buddy with them, but because they are genuinely just like Snow White babyface people. They see somebody in need of help. They are able to help them. Hey, we see you need some people.
We're hearing now the men is going to be 4-on-4. They're going to have so. Look at the poster right here. I mean, I certainly would not be upset with that match in this lineup right here.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. It's perfect. You got Cora
and the
Jade,
thing is because we have the relationship with TNA. If you can't have like that exact image. If you can't have Rhea Ripley in the match, swap out for Jordynne Grace.
Yeah. And
do the team we had tonight minus Kalani Jordan, although Kalani Jordan is also a good option.
She is a good option, but I like what they have set there, and I would love to see that be the teams. Makes sense. You got Raquel, Cora Jade, Roxanne, and Liv on one side going against Julia, Stephanie, and Zarya on Team Rhea. So got to see what happens, but hell of a crazy thing. We've got all these verses going on here. Look at this shit. Everybody's fighting. Everybody's got graphics. I love it. It's everybody versus everybody.
And then a random Alexa Bliss appeared.
And it's possible. We don't know what's going to happen, but look at that. We got some more graphics going up. So, again, back to NXT. I liked the lights going out. You had commentary say, what's going on? Who pays the electric bill? I laughed at that. They don't do the lights out thing often. It is a ECW, staple. They used to do 100 lights out in a night. Oh, my God, it's Taz. Oh, my God, it's Sabu. Oh, my God, it's Sandman. Oh, my God. And it just would keep escalating. So I like the announcement. I like the gore on Stevie Turner cheering him on. Robert Stone got destroyed. So
I love how Robert Stone was out there shitting on Philadelphia, and who comes out to stick up for the good name of Philadelphia? Rhino from Detroit.
Exactly. Hey, it worked for me though with the ECW stance.
Of course,
fans were hot, but it is funny.
I don't know why he didn't just. If that was going to be the case, why didn't he just shit on ECW?
Yeah, instead of
I
guess he was trying to use the New York. Yeah, but in all nitpicks, it was fun to see Rhino get the gore and get out. So then we got Trick Williams and Bubba Ray Dudley, and this was actually a bit quicker than what I thought it would be. It wasn't a bad match. It got the heat on the right people. And
a lot of people surprised Ridge got the pin.
I'm not, because
clearly they're going for that match.
Yes, it's Ridge Holland and Trick at some point. That's the problem.
This is the most I could not be paid to give a shit match they've got going right now.
And I was looking forward to the match with Bubba, the tag match. It was good, but it was all to set up the ending. I really did laugh because I thought they were just going to get the tables, and he's like, "Oh, there's no tables." The audience boos, and then you knew Devon would come out. But that was a great moment because up until
But that was
then,
such a good circumvention of expectations, though, because
Yes.
you saw the promo at the beginning where it's like, the one thing that's not going to happen to me is I'm not going to be put through a table.
yes,
And then obviously in
Chekhov's table gets brought up.
in generic wrestling land, that means you're definitely going through a table.
That's,
no,
that's
he-
like bringing
he
out a
means it.
cake, Spaz.
Heels don't have to be dumb.
No.
He went ahead of time and he
Made
cleared out
sure
the
there
bottom
was
of the ring.
no tables. That's why I'm like, oh my God, that's great, and it makes sense for Devon to be there to bring out a table. Loved
You know
it.
what I thought would
great,
have been a
great,
good,
great.
You know what I
wrap-up.
thought would have been a good spot, because the one thing they did have was the old school like interlocking guardrails between them and
Yes.
the fans. If they couldn't have a table, it's like, okay, you took away all the tables, we're going to do something worse. Take out a section of the guardrail, lay that out flat, and do the table spot on that, and watch it just bend a little bit, as opposed to how a table would break and be nice and easy.
So was a great moment. Pop the crowd, pop me. I only wish they could have pyro there. Then we got Tony D with his family taking on Nunzio.
It was good to see
and
Devon
the
as well, even though
FBI.
they can't do anything.
Well, that was a good
And
surprise, no doubt,
everybody-
because we didn't expect him because he hasn't been able to do anything for a long time. And it was like, oh, I don't think he'll be involved with this, even though, and great to see him. So, like I said, we got the family,
it was
FBI.
It was a nice touch as well to sort of dissuade you from that.
Yeah,
'cause
not
they
assuming.
They didn't have They had Bully Ray come out to the Dudley Boys music, but if you looked on the Tron,
It was only him.
it was a Bubba Ray Tron. It wasn't
Yes.
a Dudley Boys Tron. And then when Devon came out, they switched up the Tron. It said Dudley Boys.
Exactly.
Very
cool
I'm
little
sorry. It is
detail.
the little things.
Absolutely.
And other people are bad at the little things.
But the little things like that is what made me excited and made
Yep.
me care. So,
Well, it's like what we said in the segment last week that set up the 10-woman tag, right?
yes.
When they were all surrounding Zarya, and what happens? Like I was saying, a good person will just pop up and help you because they're a good person, and that was Kalani Jordan. But what did she do? She hopped up into the ring, but she tapped Zarya on the shoulder and said, no, don't worry, I'm here to help you. Like, it wasn't just assumed. It wasn't an automatic, these magnets go together. Like, no. Like, Zarya looked at her and was like, are you the sixth person coming to attack me? Before she said, no, I got you. We're good.
Yeah.
Like, that half second of detail. Like, you want to say, like, oh, WWE runs a tight ship and nobody can fart without certification and all that. But that's how you get that much attention to detail.
And that's what's important.
It's a little tiny thing like that changes it and makes it a little bit more legitimate, believable, gives it a little bit of integrity, rather than, you and I are friends now because you are standing here.
You good guy,
You know
me
what I
good too. Yeah, absolutely.
We both have red shirts. What?
Hey, then we got Tony D taking on Nunzio.
It's the best team. We have the best red shirts.
They're
fantastic.
I agree with Juan entirely. I was
That's
hoping to
what
see
they tell
Big
me.
Vito and Johnny the Bull. That would have been fun. It was huge.
Big Vito in his dress, as he was in later days.
Yes, but this was fun. You knew it was going to happen. The thing that I love the most, Nunzio, still as old as he might be, did a great job here, and that was the thing. It didn't undersell Nunzio. It didn't make him look foolish, but it also, he's 52. So he was born in 72. 52. That's
And he
crazy.
didn't say, like, oh, I'm so offended by you being in my territory, I'm going to kick your ass. It's like, no, there's a tax.
The
tax is
former
you
little
gotta get-
Guido, and that's what they had here. They had the Wops taking on the Marios. We went for it. And if you're going to have anybody without papers, it's Nunzio. So FBI kind of out there, Tony Mamaluke. What they did was funny. And then you had the families joining at the end. That was a nice little touch, too. Tony
And
D
you know-
defends
and
the
it's, you know,
title.
but this
They
is
did the
where I
crowbar spot, and I just have to say though, Nunzio, the thing about him was always his character in the ring and out of the ring. So
And
wasn't.
he kind of overacts in a way that works.
Exactly what I was going for. So
You know what I would have loved to see here, because stereotypes are funny and they'll get me canceled. You know who I would have loved as a special guest referee here, and he's in TNA right now. Santino.
Yes, and I think they could do
Santino as the
something
ref
with
would have
that.
been cool. Yeah.
I think they can do something with Santino and the family at some point too. That'd be a fun little crossover. But the referee, after they get the crowbar involved, he's he was trying to do a little stacks, and give me the crowbar. But D'Angelo's like, I'm not gonna use it here. It's Nunzio's now. It's a hot potato, and this is after they had the whole brass knuckle thing. So
Yeah,
you get the big delayed
like I
choke
say,
slam.
comedy weapon spot.
Yes, and it was perfect, and
But
it wasn't
this
unbelievable.
goes back to what I was going to say. Is this goes back to what I said about the ladies' match at the beginning of the night? They ran through a Rolodex of WWE cliches.
Yeah.
But they were the exact wrestling WWE cliches that fit the moment. It's like, I bet they're gonna do it's the who used to do it, Eddie Guerrero. He would instead of hitting somebody with a chair, he'd hit the ground and act like he'd been
throw the chair, and he'd fall back and dive off, and he'd throw away his headphones too. Yeah, we'd get him diving all over the place, and he'd pass out faking, and that was what the things that you made Eddie love about you. He lies, cheats, and steals. So having a little bit of that here was really cool. I was really happy to see the little prayer moment we got from Nunzio, and it was great because they were waiting for him to tap Tony's back to let him know to put him down. Like, okay, I'm done with my, because obviously he can't be seen. You're lifting him up; he's over your head. So once he finished the cross, he tapped him on the shoulder, and that's when he got slammed down. So it was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done over enunciating.
Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch.
Exactly. So fun there. And I enjoyed it. Then we started having the all 10 women come out. So we got the heels coming out first. And here we had Fatal Influence and Roxanne and Cora taking on Jordan, Julia, Stephanie, Zarya, and Kalani. Goddamn, Jordan and Fallon Henley started the match.
Again, attention to detail, right?
Yes.
Because the past little while you've had Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez coming out, sort of identical gear. They've been doing a lot of tag team stuff, or at least they've been operating as a tag team.
Simpatico.
Right. But in this case, they weren't out there as a tag team. They were out there as two pieces of a larger whole. So they came out looking, even though they were in a tag match in a much bigger team, they came out more individualized, like with their gear, with their entrances and whatnot, than they have as a tag team. And I thought this is like, no, this is not our tag team that's going to probably do more tag team stuff. This is a much bigger, like a heel community on the one side, because you get Fatal Influence, who are a trio unit, and they still come out pretty individualized. And Fallon, I'm going to keep hitting it on the head. I am really happy for Fallon Henley finally getting her flowers, because
she deserved it.
She's done a lot and gone a lot of different ways. She's done the stuff with Brooks and Jensen. She did the solo stuff. She did a little bit of a heel turn on her own. She found this team. JC Jane went through the whole Toxic Attraction thing, and then who knows where Gigi Dolan is. And I think she's coming back from an injury. She did the whole hosting video thing for Halloween Havoc, which is great.
I really like JC Jane freaking out. I forget which part of the match it was. I think it was when she was against Zarya, and she was just like screaming that she didn't want to get her ass kicked. Like she was in peril. That was funny to me. I like Zarya stepping on Jade's ankle to keep her from tagging out. Like, they had certain like psychology moments that were really good. Then you'd get the big brawls where all 10 women would crash outside. You got them all on the out, and then Perez comes down into all of them, and it was just like these big moments. And then of course it's Kalani Jordan up top, and she does a moonsault to take everybody out for the commercial break, and it was a great spot. They came back, and you got Jordan still in. Same with JC Jane, and they're just kicking out of everything between the two. She does the senton and get the cannonball, and that's when she, gets her leveled with a Pele kick. So now JC Jane's down the ground, and you get a bit of the double team. I think that's when she was screaming, actually. Yeah. And, it played out very well. I loved the finish. But here's the thing more than that. I love the reason that these people are all together. So you started to state it before, but there's not just like one common interest. There's specific reasons. So Zarya debuted and came out to both sets of women here. You know, she came out and threatened Cora and Roxanne as well as Fatal Influence. So already she herself is involved. Then you have the tag match and everything that built up with the 2-on-2 with Roxanne and Cora. You have Fatal Influence getting involved with Kalani and then obviously with Jordan Grace getting involved with it. It's everybody fits. Everybody serves a role.
Zarya is the linchpin of putting this match together.
Mm-hmm.
From a storytelling perspective, if you look at Jordan Grace, Stephanie Vacour, and Julia, they all came in eyes on Roxanne Perez.
Yes.
Kalani Jordan is only looking at Fatal Influence because she wants to get her title back, which she's going to get a shot at next week. That should be really good.
Who she destroyed 2/3 of on her own.
Oh, exactly.
So can't understate that.
But the thing about that is you've got two separate stories together. You had to, and I said she looked like Thanos on the night looking over the whole division.
Yes.
But you had to have somebody that was looking at both title pictures so that all 5 of them would surround her, so that the ones that have problems with these and the ones that have problems with these would come together. So the newest person on the roster was the linchpin of putting this match together.
No, you're absolutely right.
And here's the thing. You've got obviously the Avengers team, the Avengers babyface team of like.
I mean, look at this. She sets her up for pop rocks, gets it, and then just hits this amazing F5 for the 3 count.
Yep.
I mean, I got to go back one more time because look at this. Perfect setup. And I just love the ending here. Just what a great reversal for that. Knock her into the second rope, up, looks like a beast, F5. Thank you. See you next time. Like just 1,
you can
2,
hear them,
3.
You can hear them on commentary, like staggering to not refer to it as the F5 as well.
I know. And then you just see the ladies. I mean, Jordan Grace is growling in success. Like it was just
because she got the friendly fire from Zarya before the end.
So that's what I'm saying. Like she's growling, but even though she's in success, like she was pissed. So there's a little bit of a story there. Like. They all stood tall, but yet you can still have small little feuds down the line with the faces, the heels. They didn't really work as a unit, so they're going to be pissed off at each other. So there's something with that. Like this sets up so much. You can keep so many people busy while not directly going for the one women's title because you already have other women going for the secondary title. So you got to be careful with Jordan Grace, Stephanie, Zarya, and Julia. Because you don't want to diminish any of their star power, but you don't want any of them to outshine the other.
Well, here's the thing, and you set up the point that I want to make perfectly as well, because you mentioned the 4 names there: Jordan Grace, Julia, Stephanie Vacour, and Zarya.
Yeah, and it's only because Kalani is focused on the North American title, not the main.
This is the thing. So. But what I wanted to say, and it was kind of where I thought this match might lose a little bit of something. I thought you got the 3 new big names. You got the one name that's come over from TNA, and Jordan Grace is a huge name wherever she goes anyways.
Yeah.
The chances of going into this match and having Kalani Jordan feel like the little sister on the team were so high. And tell me how, even on the team with those people as her teammates, she still came out of this looking like $1 million fucking bucks.
Oh, absolutely. And Juan made a great point, too. He's like, is there going to be a 3-way at Deadline? Because Stephanie pinned Roxanne at Halloween Havoc, and then Zarya pinned Roxanne tonight. So you're like, they both have a claim to the title. I really hate eliminator matches. So I despise when the champion has to be beaten for a chance at the title. This is the way I like the champ to lose.
An entirely different situation.
Yes.
They found the tag match on the pay-per-view, and then they found this.
Non-title matchups, non-elimination matchups, no number 1 contendership on the line, but it meant something. It elevated everybody. It brought things up. Salazar said my top 3 favorite matches were the 10-woman tag, Lola's, and then Javon's. I mean, he's absolutely right. I agree with him there. And
Javon and Wesley, I need to. I'm sorry.
I want
more
more time from those two. Yeah,
I need to see a couple more rounds of that. I would have loved it on the pay-per-view just for the fact of you wouldn't have had to fit it into a television structure.
Yeah,
that's the kind of conversation we're going to have once it goes over to Netflix, obviously.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and we have so much more to look forward to as well, and that's the thing. We've got the WWE ID coming. Shawn Michaels just announced tonight that Noah brought over Yoshiki to NXT. And I'm not familiar with Noah Yoshiki, so that's interesting. I haven't watched much of Noah in years, or I should say.
The only time I ever heard of it was because AJ Styles went over for a night, but I saw the way they presented him.
But now they're working with
Star?
Pro Wrestling Noah.
Yeah.
Cole. It's like, oh, cool. This is official now, and obviously you've got coming up in 2025. They've got Nakamura going over there, so that's going to be really cool. And you know, it's like they've got a bunch of big things going on that side. They've got some great guys, and they're just utilizing stars while they can. So to see Shawn Michaels go ahead and bring over a huge star from over there and Noah's side of things, it's like, oh, that's really cool as well. And we'll check this out really quick here, super quick. But, you know, he put up a video before, and we go ahead and we'll check this out for 1 second. So I don't know if you can hear it on stream, but we'll find out.
I'm here at WWE Performance Center.
And I'm here at the Performance Center. And they just show some footage.
Nice.
I don't think I've ever worked someone who's
what I would
never
like
been able to hit me
if
as
we
hard as
weren't
you
doing
could.
the Iron Survivor match, which I'm really looking forward to. I would like Roxanne to do another one of those I'm the heel, I think I have the upper hand type thing, right?
Yeah.
Because she's looking at 4 competitors, realistically speaking. She had her match with Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace kind of got fucked over. She had her match with Julia. Julia kind of got fucked over. And since then, she's been pinned by Zarya and by Stephanie Vacour. I want her to walk into the Lion's Den with those 4 women and say, hey, look, I'm a magnanimous champion. I'm a giving champion. I'm the best champion NXT has ever had. I'm going to give a title shot. 4 of you fight each other. I'll fight the winner.
Exactly.
And then you have a pay-per-view worthy #1 contenders match.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. And like you said, pay-per-view worthy. I mean, that's insane. It really, the caliber of things cannot be overstated. Yeah. So,
as I say, like I think you're a little more friendly with it than I am. I think the gulf in my interest right now between the women's division as a whole and the men's division as a whole on NXT is getting huge. There's people that I want to see, like obviously. I like the Lexus King type characters. I want to see what Javon and Wesley are going to do. I want to see if Wesley and the Rascals finish that story or whatever. But if you just stack up everything, I mean, Obafemi's a fucking beast. But if you stack up this whole division versus this whole division, the interest and the effort and the time and the space that's given, because this was given pretty much the last 25 minutes of the show as well.
Yeah,
as we said it would.
Straight up.
So many people were so sure that because Trick Williams is the men's world champion and we got Bubba Dudley in a match that they were going to put that in the main event. And I'm like, nah, NXT's leaning hard on the ladies, and it's not a bad thing. Like it means you do have to keep me interested in what the guys are doing. But if the ladies are running the show, again, to get repetitive, I'll touch on what we touched on in the preview over on my channel.
Yes.
If you've got NXT where the ladies are leading the charge, that's not any kind of bad thing.
Absolutely.
Because
not.
literally, and I'll throw the criticism at WWE the same way I will at AEW. Raw doesn't do that.
No.
Raw has good women.
Yes.
SmackDown has good women, and they've got stories. They're keeping themselves busy, whatever. Even TNA, who was the measuring stick of women's divisions for a long time, it's about 50-50. AEW is a fucking joke. ROH, I'm not paying to watch ROH.
ROH is a bit disappointing, unfortunately, but
ROH has Athena and other people.
but it doesn't have a lot going for it right now, and that's the sad part because it used to be so good.
I never saw ROH when it was real. I saw some clips of a match with Athena and Abaddon from like Halloween, I guess, where they tried 3 or 4 times to break a table, and then they just kind of slid.
Abaddon looked terrible there too, and they only bring her out because it's spooky day, you know, and then they're gonna go hide her away for another year. We only see her on Halloween.
That's unfortunate because I like the little bit that I've seen. I kind of like Abaddon. Like it's right up my street, that kind of thing. And Athena is going to waste. Can you imagine? And like, yes, I know it sounds like I'm just trying to poach somebody back from AEW again, but can you imagine bringing back Ember Moon into this NXT women's division?
Oh, certainly. This is what she wanted when she went back to NXT. And sadly, when she went back, the big stars were in a transition out. You had Raquel leaving, you had Rhea leaving, you had Io leaving, you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't. the right time for her to be coming back and facing people when everybody was on the way out. And
you had the tag team of her and Shotzi,
yeah,
where they were putting a lot of effort into like their homemade gear and stuff like that, and they were both riding out on the tank.
They were doing great double team moves, and they became.
But she was doing
unit.
all her her mechanical light up armor type ring attire like in her own time, and they were like brainstorming behind the scenes, and then they just never let them fully run with it.
Yeah, and on your channel, I do want to say to everybody, we'll be wrapping up shortly, but the State of Wrestling on the Spaz Phoenix YouTube channel, link in the description box down below. We're there. We usually record on Thursdays every week now, and it's usually up Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning, so you guys can check that out when it goes live. So hit the notification bells, subscribe to here as well. We'll be live after NXT and some other PLEs and pay-per-views. But Juan said before, Obafemi's definitely winning the men's Iron Survival match. Well, that's what I'm going to say. You and I have a lot to talk about in the State of Wrestling. I also saw some comments before in the chat about, do we miss Survival Series, like the elimination matches they used to have? I know I always looked forward to those as a kid, and they kind of fell to the wayside. Then they did the kind of interesting thing where Raw versus SmackDown with the eliminations, and then they added NXT that one year in 2019. That was exciting. NXT took the sweep and beat everybody's ass.
The coolest thing, that's probably of the Battle of the Brands era of Survivor Series. I think that's my favorite one, the one where they threw NXT into the mix. Obviously,
and Walter got pinned right away. Funny to think about how that lasted.
It wasn't always great, but it was Becky, Baszler, and Bayley in the main event.
Mm-hmm. Which
was... the NXT Women's Championship was in the main event of a Big Four WWE pay-per-view.
Absolutely crazy. So we have a lot to discuss, a lot. But
I will always say, like, as cool as that pay-per-view was, the SmackDown that kicked all that off, where Triple H led the NXT invasion of SmackDown, where they came in on the tank and
they had the army jeep back, and
you could really tell who his
him
kids
and Sean.
Were. You could really tell who his kids were at the time because he was standing in the center. He had Adam Cole on one side of him. Back when Adam Cole was used properly.
That was his guy.
Shayna Baszler, back when Shayna Baszler was used properly, let's be fair.
Adam Cole beat Daniel Bryan. They had him destroy everybody to go ahead and look like this incredible badass, and then he left because Vince wanted to use him as a manager.
Back in the day when AEW actually had ratings, and we had the singular night that beat Dynamite, who did it? It was Shayna Baszler, it was Rhea Ripley, it was Adam Cole, and it was Finn Balor.
Yep.
Finn Balor's in one of the biggest factions in the WWE outside of the Bloodline. Shayna Baszler, they need to pull up their socks with her. Rhea Ripley, I'm sorry, it's not hyperbole anymore. Rhea Ripley is one of the biggest names in current WWE right now. And Adam Cole went to AEW and reaped the benefits of that decision.
Yeah.
I don't wish bad on the guy. I want better for Adam Cole. I want
AEW to be better. I miss wanting to watch it. I miss there being good storylines.
I'm not talking about the company. I'm saying
I know you're
Adam
not.
Cole specifically. Where I want him to be somewhere. People are being dickheads to him because, oh my God, the guy that's been injured for 2 years isn't as big as he used to be.
I got tickets, I told you, to next week's Dynamite for free. I got 2 tickets, and unfortunately with the broken foot, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make it. Because if it was WWE, I know I'd probably go. And it's not a slight on AEW. It's just I don't want to go and kill myself and trek around just to go ahead and see a weekly Dynamite that's probably going to be a bit of a waste and a shit show. It's like, who do I really want to see? What do I want to go for? What is going to be advertised? And it's like, nothing great. If it was Full Gear or something, then maybe, sure, go to a pay-per-view. But with this stuff, it's like, for weekly TV, it's just been so disappointing week in and week out, sadly. I miss the days where AEW was a draw for me personally.
See, I'm kind of guilty of it, right? Because if they come back around, both times they've come around to Toronto for Dynamite, the ticket prices have been through the roof.
Yes.
They got 2 tickets out of me. One was for Forbidden Door, and one was for the Collision right before Forbidden Door. And I hate to break it to them, both of those tickets you got out of me were because you had CM Punk at the time.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of a lean towards Forbidden Door because I've never seen any live Japanese wrestling.
Danny was so excited.
That's a blind spot for me, right?
Because CM Punk that night successfully defended the title, and we were going to Grand Slam that Wednesday. So she's
Yep.
like, sweet, I'm going to get to see Punk as a champion. She had seen him in WWE, but she was very young and didn't remember most of it. So I was like, oh, yeah, you're finally going to see him, remember it? And then he got suspended that week, and so did the
Well, the thing was,
Elite.
they didn't tell us that there was going to be a Collision there until right close to the show date.
Yeah.
So the tickets, obviously, for Collision didn't sell that well. I was on the floor. I had a way better seat than I obviously had for Forbidden Door. I was up in the 300 level. Still great.
But you still had a great experience for that. I went to the Collision where
there's not
Punk had the title that he X'd out, you know, and
Oh, yeah.
the real world title.
Oh,
he pulled
yeah.
it out of the bag and spray painted it, and I went and saw FTR take on Cole and MJF there. I mean, Forbidden Door. I've been to Grand Slam, Dynamite, and Collision. Collision was really good that night. They had some great matches, but all the Ring of Honor stuff before and after we skipped, you know.
I should say, like, and they kind of sprinkled the Ring of Honor before and after the Collision taping that I was at.
For us as well.
But the main event, and like I say, I had much better seats because, you know, it was a smaller, they intentionally made it like a smaller show. They only used a certain portion of Scotiabank Arena. Scotiabank Arena, like, you can be up. I was for what's
Money
it
in
called?
the Bank.
Thank you very much. I had the tickets for that where I was literally in the last row of the 300 section, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my head leaning on the back wall, and there's no such thing as a bad seat.
That's how we were for Money in the Bank, and I sat
Yeah.
in like a little handicap area for my fat ass, and that thing
Yeah.
was grand. We sat with viewers. We brought.
But when
the
I was sitting
title.
on the floor, because I forget who Punk even fought at Forbidden Door. I'm not going to lie, but I do know that the night before there was an
Ishii or no, it was. I'll think back, but it was
Yeah.
some like random match.
But the thing was, the night before at the Collision, there was a 4-on-4. It was all four members of Bullet Club Gold taking on CM Punk, Ricky Starks, and FTR.
And it was Satoshi Kojima. So
Oh,
Kojima.
So I have one of the best wrestling
Metal
pictures I've ever taken from ground level, and it's just CM Punk squaring off with Jay White. And it's the closest I've ever been to the ring in Scotiabank Arena, and it's one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. And yes, it was an AEW show, but guess what? AEW, you got a ticket out of me because you had CM Punk, and you had
I
CM
went
Punk
because you had
wrestling in
CM
Toronto.
Punk.
Yeah, exactly.
And in Collision had one of the best TV matches that I've seen, probably in 2023 on TV. That tag match between Bullet Club Gold, so Jay White and Juice Robinson, and it was really Juice Robinson, but them with FTR, the match that they had was, and FTR, the only really great matches they had before that were with the Briscoes within AEW. Like, they weren't really always clicking. It took them to go back to Ring of Honor to make a big deal, and then they had that hour-long match, and it was so fucking good. And I was baffled why they didn't have the next week MJF and Adam Cole take the titles when they had them win the ROH tag titles down the line. It was messy. Point being, like you said, there was a desire to go, whether it was just to see 1 star or 100, you had a desire, and that's missing right now. I don't even want to go back. Like, if I wasn't going to cover it tonight and talk a little bit about it, you didn't watch it all, and I was like blasé with it. And here's the thing. I didn't even mention, WrestleVotes was saying that the CW network was internally expecting tonight's special Wednesday episode to be their highest since the debut. And even being on the wrong night, they have huge expectations that they're not worried about Dynamite.
I meant to bring this up at the beginning of the night as well, because obviously you're going to get all kinds of accusations, as we normally do when the shows go head-to-head.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, you know, it's not AEW's fault they had to go to Tuesday for a night. Now NXT just wants to fuck with them. And it's like, no, they're on the CW. The CW was covering the election. Please go touch grass.
Exactly. And one of the things that came out tonight, Dave Meltzer put out, is that Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes are currently on temporary leave per WWE sources. They're both apparently expected back. Time frame is indefinite, but they're saying it's due to a family emergency for Pritchard, and Hayes, they're unsure. It's just personal issues. So some people said that this is the old guard being moved out. Other people were saying this is not what's happening. WWE emphasized this is not a sign of that. They're iterating that both men will return.
Yeah.
I'd prefer they didn't. We'll see what happens.
You know what? I've
never liked Bruce Pritchard, and he's a bit of a slime to me, so.
be that as it may, I am kind of going on this kick, and we've said it about wrestlers the past little while as well, when we didn't know whether Rhea Ripley's injury was real or not. I am all for us knowing less about their personal shit.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
If they're stepping away, they got some shit to deal with. That's it.
That's fine.
That can be the end of the thing. Oh, somebody had an emergency. Somebody's got a family thing. No, somebody's not here right now because they had to step away. And I don't care who it is, whether it's Pritchard, whether it's somebody backstage, whether it's a lighting tech, whether it's a cameraman, whether it's your champion. If they need to step away for a second because they got some shit to handle, just say they're not here tonight because they're not here tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's we always get into this thing about privacy more with the ladies because they deal with way more ridiculous shit than we do. Let's be fair for a second.
A guy wanted me to put gummy bears in my asshole and then send them back to him was a direct quote I heard from one of the WWE talents. So that's imagine getting that DM. The guy's like,
okay,
I'll pay
so
you
we're
$100.
I don't want to go that far down the line, but the whole dirt sheet. I don't want to say entitlement.
That's some dirty sheets, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
But the whole entitlement that the dirt sheets has given us, and I don't want to, like I say, I don't really want to use that language because I'm not really getting on a soapbox.
No,
here,
but the expectation of their privacy
I'm
is ruined at times, and that comes with celebrity all around. But if they could keep to themselves.
I don't think it's ruined by celebrity status. I think it's ruined by if we can find this out about so and so, then we've got a headline.
Yeah, and it's not just status. What I'm saying is to be expected of celebrities nowadays, the lack of privacy, the expectation to just constantly be under scrutiny.
Mandy Rose, I think, got married recently, right?
Congratulations.
And people that were at the wedding, I think Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, I think Indy Hartwell, which is good for her because I think it was the day after she was let go. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, guys. Don't worry about it. But and you saw them because they're all on Twitter and they're all sharing their photos around on Instagram and whatever. That's nice. That's whatever people are choosing to share. But there was people outside. I don't know whether it was a church or whether it was some kind of other facility, but there was people waiting for them on the outside when the service was over to interview them about their wedding.
Yeah, that's bit
weird.
Yeah, that is strange. And I do understand why that's an issue. And I've never liked celebrities being stalked and having people stay outside the WWE hotel rooms and stuff like that. Come on, there's so many ways you can meet them, and a lot of people are really cool. You know who I met once? Stevie Richards. You know how? He was walking through the Meriden Mall. He looked so ripping pissed off and just in the worst mood ever. And he was walking by. My buddy's like, "That's Stevie," and he had a WWE corporate jacket on. It said WWE on the back, or WWF, I think. Then actually, maybe it was E. Could have been E. I don't remember. But still, he was walking past the pretzel fucking booth in FYE to go, or FYE's downstairs, but same spot. Yeah. And as he's heading down the escalator, I was like, "Stevie!" And he turned around really quick, and then he came over, and I was like, "I just wanted to let you know, I'm sorry. I know you're probably shopping and whatnot. My buddy and I are a huge fan. Thank you so much." And we started to walk away, and he's like, wait, come back. And he talked to us for 20 seconds, and he was like, "Sorry, I'm in a rush, but thank you guys for watching. I hope this," that kind of thing. Really cool. And he could have just kept walking. He could have ignored us. You could tell he wasn't really in the mood. But I was 12, 13, maybe. I was excited.
You want to hope that the other side of that story is maybe if he was having a shitty day, maybe you made his day.
Maybe. And that's the thing. That could be it. But it was just I happened to be at the Meriden Mall with my friend. We've met wrestlers there a few times. For signings, so to just see one walking down, and he lived in Connecticut for a long while too, so that I didn't know that. I heard that on his pod recently, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And he talks about how bad the right to censor time was for him too. I guess Godfather pinned all of that on him and was really nasty and abusive to him. And since everybody else was like, "Oh, you ruined Godfather's face spot, now he's not making the money that he was," everybody took it out on him. So he wasn't in the locker room. He was treated like persona non grata for a long time. I was listening to his pod the other day. Great show to listen to. Stevie Richards' show is excellent because he gives a lot of very fair but crucially needed insight to things that people aren't aware of with wrestling. And not even just like, oh, it's common etiquette or anything like that. And I'm sorry, we've run very late, but you and I are having a great time tonight. I know you're gonna get to work, but
I was I'm gonna pass out soon.
I
but,
know we've
we'll
covered
get there.
NXT, you know, all of that. We've had a great night here. Last thing, like pretty much one of my favorite moments of the night. Just this was great. Hearing the crowd get the tables. Having everybody there bring out Devon and having him destroy. It's like, oh my God, I can't find a table, and just seeing, you know, the quick little advancement here. There's no tables. What am I going to do? And Dudley Boys.
Yeah, and the little touches as well. Like it's you know what it is with the Dudley Boys, but if they're teaming with somebody else, they've obviously got an extra pair of the no lens glasses for Trick, and he even brought a pair out for Booker at the beginning of the night just because, you know,
and that
why
was
not?
Funny as could be. And I like how Bubba even counts for the table spot. Once the table just explodes, Devon's on the edge. It looks great. Like I'm just thrilled with it. Like it was a ton of fun, and I'm just so excited that they had a good night with it.
And like, if somebody wants to say, you know, I'm handing out free passes because I like NXT, well, yes, I'm handing out free passes, and yes, I like NXT. But this is the kind of show where you can just do some feel good shit.
Okay, but I'm not handing out free passes like you are. See, you and I have that. I like the dichotomy we have with that. Our little back and forth flow.
Yeah.
Because like you said, usually we end up at the same destination, but how we get there is never the same. So I really appreciate the take you have, because I'm the opposite in the sense of like, I'm not allowing them just because I love NXT. It's like it's good. No, because there's certain things but there was nothing tonight that I was maybe.
That's what I mean specifically tonight, because of the kind of show it is. You're gonna have some stuff that's light, some stuff that's fluff, some stuff that's just meant to either make you think about old stuff or maybe make you feel nice about new stuff. As I said, I go back to the ladies' match at the beginning of the night. Was it every other hardcore match WWE's ever given us? Pretty much. Going through the motions, sure, but it's a hardcore match. You put it in the house of hardcore.
Exactly.
You bring back a lady from the history of hardcore to be the referee, and just go through the motions and talk about.
It's got all that great feel, and the banana time is ready.
Isn't it cool that it's happening here? You know, are Ridge and Ethan particularly entertaining opponents for Trick and Bubba? No, but the story is that Trick got to tag team with Bubba Ray Dudley for a night.
And I agree, Liz. I wish they did the 3D, but the double choke slam was cool because obviously they were doing it with Trick, not Devon. Devon looks like, I don't think he can take a bump or anything. I remember there being an issue with that a while back.
I don't think he can.
I don't think he can even perform anything, like not taking one, like just the action of jumping down. With their insurance too, like that's why they have certain things in place.
He was at Destiny last year at some point because both of his sons wrestled on the show, and he was basically like in there celebrating with them, and they were doing the stuff. It was still cool.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh, absolutely. But, it's great to see him. I know
what I'm thinking about the 3D though is it is a move with a bit of coordination to it, and when you're inserting something like a table in the middle, pause. If it's something that Trick hasn't done before.
I mean, the table's big, but I bet you I could fit it.
Splinters, bro. Splinters.
A lot of lube. I'm telling you, in my ass,
all right, Diddy, calm down.
There's enough, bleeding to happen somewhere. But I was a little disappointed we didn't get any blood, but it would have had to have been hard way. Yeah. But like I said, I'm happy to be back on Twitter.
Apparently, CW they didn't come at NXT.
No, but
they did kind of mention when they did the Rhea Ripley thing.
Yes, yeah.
Like we're not coming down on you. We're not against it, but we weren't quite expecting.
Yeah,
that,
keep it limited. It looked very graphic in that moment, and that's why I said someone would have had to have been busted open hard way for it to happen.
That's where not doing anything is more effective. The fact that we didn't see it until after it was already done leaves everything to the imagination, which is obviously going to be more effective.
More can be done with less.
Something. Because it's like, if you got baseball bats, it's like Triple H doing the sledgehammer shots for years and years and years. Yeah. What does he do? He wraps his hand around
it. I liked about tonight, like I said, the expectations I did have were all met, and some were even exceeded. I was not expecting Devon, and I was expecting Bubba to either take the pin or to have Trick and Bubba win because he's the returning ECW. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and they still gave us the nostalgia moment afterwards. So the heels win. Ridge can set up, and Ethan can set up to face Trick at some point. The story's continuing. Again, like I said, that needle and thread, it just keeps threading. and now they get the crowd good moment with Devon, like, and the way they set it up too with, oh, there are no tables because the heels are smart and they didn't want us to. Loved it.
Yep.
So I can't overstate it enough.
And I will say, like, it was one of the smaller spots just with the Ava announcement, having Rhino there. Rhino, you know, to use the corny cliche, coming home to the ECW arena for the first time since his TNA Hall of Fame induction. That's worth mentioning as well.
Exactly.
And Robert Stone can take a spear. Look at him.
He took a hell of a gore. Absolutely. You know, I'm happy to be, like I said, back on Twitter. You can hit me up at Countdown Ended. That's Spaz Phoenix, at Spaz Phoenix. You can hit him up on Twitter as well. As he said before, just making sure we're hammering that home, you'll find us on his channel, Spaz Phoenix, on YouTube. Link in the description down below. We'll be putting up the State of Wrestling that I joined him for, so that's going to cover a lot of NXT, but a little bit of everything else as well. We've got a lot of main roster things to discuss, a little bit of fallout from Crown Jewel, what's going to go ahead before SmackDown, talking about Survivor Series. I have some points that I want to bring up. I know you have some surprise questions, so this week you're not going to want to miss it.
I do want to hammer it home as well, just because over on my side it is basically a podcast, even if you're on YouTube. If you're going for the audio and you're not in front of a computer screen, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Rumble,
anywhere you can put
YouTube.
your ears, I think you're there for them to listen.
I've changed, because it used to be that some of them were Spaz Phoenix, some of them were Spaz Phoenix Podcast. On all platforms now, it should be Spaz Phoenix Podcast, 3 separate words. YouTube for sure, Rumble for sure, Spotify, iTunes have always been that way. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like Jake said, it should drop sometime over the night, like Thursday night, Friday morning. You can enjoy it.
Enjoy it when you wake up, or take it with you to work. You know,
before you get geared up for SmackDown on Friday, where we're going to have the big Bloodline family reunion if it doesn't blow up.
I think that's
Roman
probably when we'll get
face to face.
We'll get Sammy and you know, Roman trying to be on the same page, but I don't think it's going to work out yet. And I think they're going to build to the return of Paul Heyman next week or the week after. That's going to be.
I don't think Paul Heyman's this week.
No, I don't think so either. They have time to build up the Survivor Series still. That's like the last thing needed.
Well, the only indicator for me is if Paul Heyman was coming back to SmackDown this week, we would have seen him tonight.
Probably. Especially for the show that it was. So I do want to mention once again, congratulations to Solid Monster Bed Podcasting for over 17 years. Good friend of the channel. He's always been great. One more time, Spaz, we're going to go ahead and have a moment of silence in memory of our dear friend Peanut, gone but not forgotten. This has been a great night. First episode into Somewhere is here. We have just been having a blast, bullshitting all night. Even though XSplit wanted to shit the bed on us, it's still we managed to work. Yeah, we got it. We got the kinks worked out. The more we learn, the better we will become. I mean, you and I, we've got ourselves in the driver's seats. We just got to make sure. Well, I'll drive. I got the license. I'll make you my passenger, but we're cruising, baby, and we're doing well.
If I can manage to drive my forklift down to the States and we're going to build a Canadian wall.
Yeah,
it's
everybody wants to hear my amazing vocals that I did over this AI track here. That was me singing, and then the AI goes ahead and turns it into, you can enter artists that you want to sound like. So I just did Rock General, and then I did some backup vocals as a joke the other day. You know, a nice little intro song for us, so you can hear me singing in the background. Yeah, having some fun. But guys, like I said,
really
hit the like button down below. I know, we'll work on the kinks for that too. There should be a way. I know there's a way. Joe and I had problems for years on Skype trying to figure it out, but there is a way to share the audio there. We'll make it work so you don't have to go through the stream. But honestly, we've had a great time tonight. This has been a bit longer than we usually have it, but I'm telling you, it was a great night. We worked out the kinks. We had a lot of fun. So thank you all in the chat for hanging out with us. Like I said, subscribe, hit the like button. We'll be live again soon, and you can all stay sexy.
Later, guys.
Have a great night, everybody. Stay sexy.
Welcome to the arena, lights are blazing white. Jake and Spaz are here to take you on this wild ride. NXT action gonna blow your mind. Opinions flying high, let's get intertwined. Wrestlers in the ring giving all their might, breaking down each move, every thrilling fight. Jake and Spaz dissect every high and low. With passion and flair, they run this show. Wrestlers in the ring giving all their might, breaking down each move, every thrilling fight. Jake and Spaz dissect every high and low. With passion and flair, they run this show. Intro somewhere, we're diving in to suplexes and drama, let's begin.